Hey guys, let me know if you can hear me as always. Hello to Pond Scum, Monster Slurpee, Geargasm, Andrea, Arad, Adam Fishkin, Sam Sketchy Stories, and I did say Andrea, Aphrodita Vaitovska, and Diamond Lock Productions, the boy. I think I said Monster Slurpee, if not, hello again, and Thunderclap Clyde. Yes, Clyde. Hey guys, you hear me nice and clear? Okay, let me do my transition here before I do anything else. Hide this and transition. There we go. I have this little PNG tuber who for some reason, I know, there we go. Hey guys, how you doing? We'll see how well the connection holds up, but I actually connected my phone to my PC, so if the Wi-Fi dies, I'll just like turn off Wi-Fi and go to data instead, and we'll just deal with that. So hey guys, how's everyone doing? Let me just open a new file here. I actually intended to work on this today, but as always, things got away from me and I didn't get around to it. Yes, I made a little PNG model, and then the second I was done with her, like the second I was like, okay, cool, this looks great, I realized that I don't think having her be a chibi is a good idea. Specifically because I was listening to Giga talk about this, and Giga brought up a very good point. Giga's a VTuber. Giga was saying that when you use a chibi model, people like automatically treat you differently when they see that compared to like if you use a different model. And I knew for a fact she was telling the truth, because I do that unconsciously myself. Like if I see a VTuber is using a chibi model, it like changes my perspective on the person streaming. So I'm using this one today, but I am most likely going to do a little PNG tuber model that's perhaps a little bit more in line with my avatar that I use in videos, but I haven't done that yet, so we're just going to use this one today. Like Chibidoki is in a class of her own. I don't think Chibidoki counts because she is kind of her own thing. I don't know what who I would compare Chibidoki to. She's the dictionary definition of unhinged. Like she is the most unhinged VTuber I have ever come across. Like actually insanity. She cannot be comprehended. Exactly. Are these like Funko Pops? Basically, that is not an incorrect way to think of them. You're playing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game? Nice. I heard that one's actually pretty fun. Anyway, before we get going, I should ask you guys who and what we're drawing today, because I don't want to hold you guys, like people watching the VOD and the stream, I don't want to hold you guys up too long with idle chit chat, so I can at least like start drawing and we can like shoot the shit afterwards. Chibi Puff, is that what the C and C Puff stands for? No, the C and C Puff stands for cheese, allegedly. Draw Godzilla. That would take a lot of time. I don't know whether I am like confident enough to draw Godzilla on stream, having never attempted him before. Like I wouldn't know where to start, quite frankly. Something like that. What's relevant at the moment? Horse girls. Horse girls are what's relevant at the moment to literally everyone I talk to, and the one person who it's not relevant to has said that he doesn't want to get into the horse girls game because he knows it will completely ruin his life, because it has that exact trap of number go up that is exceptionally addictive. It's not so much the gacha side of it, it's just the number go up roguelike side of it. Like that part of it. How about the first god from Mononoke? That would be way too much detail to do on a stream while I'm also talking and like just kind of hanging out. Have you drawn anything from Digital Circus? We did draw Pomni one time, but we haven't like drawn Jax or anyone like that. So we could do that, or we could do Pomni again. I just feel like we've already drawn her once. So I mean, I'm not against drawing her again. It's up to you guys. My first time catching the stream. Hey, Emerald Lily. Hope you enjoy my absolute travesty of a stream. But see, the trick is you take what goes wrong in your videos or your streams and you make it your brand. Like, I learned very early on that I am incapable of talking about a topic in a video without going on 5,000 side quests. So I just made that part of my like YouTube identity. It's like if you come to this channel and you're watching one of my very long videos, there's going to be like a 10-minute side quest before I like circle back onto the topic to make a point of what I'm talking about. Is that a horse girl game made by the Yakuza? I'm not sure. That is an entire rabbit hole one can go down, isn't it? Like, are there gacha games who have the Yakuza's hand in them? Because I mean, they're all over the pachinko market, right? That's an interesting question. A portrait of Guillermo del Toro. Why do you guys want me to do like a fine art drawing today? Welcome to the stream. I feel Jax makes sense. Simple design, very dynamic, facial expressions. Yeah, we can do that. Equestria Girls Pinky. Oh, good lord. I don't like acknowledging that Equestria Girls exists, quite frankly. Digital Circus Jax. It is Jax. Yes, I'm correct. This is a good reference image. Hold on. You guys can't see this, but just copy this. Copy image. And then that's a very good reference image, actually. That's really good. I feel oh yeah, I read that one already. I'm just trying to have ideas. No worries. I just think it's funny because everybody's like, draw this highly detailed topic, and I'm like, guys, I can't talk and draw at the same time. But we'll do Jax. My friend was catching me up on the meta of the digital circus. And apparently, a lot of people who got into it early are unsure what to do about the fact that it's a psychological horror. Like, there were a lot of people who got on board with the show and were unaware of the fact that it's a psychological horror show. And so when it started going the psychological horror route, a lot of people were like, this show is getting too dark. This show is getting too... It's getting too confrontational. It's like it's a psychological horror. What do you expect? But I still need to catch up with the show myself, I have to admit. I've been putting it off because I wondered if it's something I would like to cover, and if so, I wonder if it's like something that I would have to watch all in one shot, like from beginning to end. Hey Brian. Because I like doing that. I don't like watching things episodically. I don't really enjoy that. I like watching things where everything's out and then I just watch it in one huge chunk. That's what I usually do. What can he be doing with his other arm? I mean, he's got the peace sign here. Yeah, we can do that, I suppose. Oh, you know what? We'll do the backwards peace sign. Because as somebody said in chat, he's gangster like that. But I hope everyone has had a good month. I have been dying in the animation mines. I've never worked on a feature film before, and good lord, it is demanding. It is very demanding. Which, like, duh, right? Like, wow, what a shock. It's a demanding workload. And yeah, it is, but then you do it and you're like, oh, man, I am so tired. I am tired all the time. So that's been my month, basically. I went to go visit some family, and they were asking me like, you're working all the time, don't you want to like come with us and go do stuff? I'm like, no, I'm working. I'm working all the time. I can't go out and do stuff. So yeah, that has been literally my entire month is nothing but work, like from day in and day out, which I enjoy it, make no mistake, I'm really, really enjoying it, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a lot of work. Also, I'm noticing his proportions are actually quite strange. Like, obviously his torso, it's not that elongated, but his arms are kind of elongated compared to it, and obviously his legs, but I'm not gonna bother with the legs in this drawing. So, you like the new PNG tuber? Thanks, Dana. As I was saying, I'm probably gonna do a new one because having her be a little chibi might not be a great idea, but she's okay for now. She's like my very first attempt, so I'll make another one that's like more in line with my video avatar, and I'll use her. But the chibi is fine for now. I do like the way she came out. I just feel like maybe it's not the best way I want to represent myself. But I fall into that trap where I see that's the way other people do it, and then I'm like, okay, well, that's obviously the way I have to do it then, because that's the way other people are doing it. And it's like, no, you don't have to follow the blueprint. You can actually do what you want forever. So, you like the way Jack's eyes are square? Yeah, they're kind of half moons, but it's got the square pupils, which I actually really like as well, because it makes for some really great expressions. I've never really used it in my own art because it's a little bit too abstract for what I usually draw, because I quite like drawing anatomy. I really enjoy drawing like anatomy. I mean, if you look at this, in my own art, I prefer being quite solid with the anatomy, but it's a design element I really enjoy when I see it in cartoons and such, because like Professor Utonium from the Powerpuff Girls also had like the square eyes, and it looks really good. And it really works for him, because I think Professor Utonium, he's all straight angles. I don't know if Professor Utonium has a single line to his design which is curved. I think he is literally straight lines and sharp points. My AC went out for a week in the sweltering heat of Florida. That sounds like actual hell. That does not sound fun. Like, even me, I am ready for winter to be over. I'm really, really done with winter. I'm really over it. But I don't think I would trade it for Florida without an aircon. That just sounds not fun in any way. Because Florida, it's humid as well, right? It's not just that it's hot, it's that it's very humid. Like, it's the dad joke of it's the humidity that'll get you, but like, actually, I swear. Brian was saying something. Oh, Brian, just condolence. You said condolences to boy, and I was like, oh no, did something horrible happen? But yeah, the lack of aircon in Florida, I suppose that is something to give condolences for. That's horrific. It's really bad. I live on Lake Ontario. The humidity here can be unbearable. Oh yeah, I can imagine. Like, it's exceptionally humid here, but I live on the south coast, so even though I'm right by the ocean, the humidity is really high, but it doesn't get like that sweltering tropical humidity. But if you go to the east coast at Durban, there's like the joke that you swim through the air when you go to Durban. You don't walk around, you swim. Also, I'm struggling to draw a circle. It's that kind of day. Let me actually grab this just so I can anchor myself a little bit. Also, somebody asked that, I forget who it was, but last month somebody asked that we get some music that's not the Donkey Kong. So I have used a new lo-fi playlist, so I hope that pleases. I wanted to find a playlist that's like just Morrowind, but unfortunately Morrowind only has like 8 tracks in the entire game. Oops. So I went with a playlist that's all the Elder Scrolls, much to my eternal annoyance. But that's what we're listening to, is like lo-fi mixes of the Elder Scrolls as a whole. The things I do for you people. Can you play revenue sharing music or too risky? I don't have access to the revenue sharing option yet. It's an America only thing right now, or if it's not available in my country at least. So even though that exists, I can't just whip up the library and check who has revenue sharing because it's not available here yet. So I mainly look for indie music creators, and then I just check their channels and their websites if they have them to see if they are okay with people using their music and what their conditions are. Because some people will be like, it's fine, but you have to credit me in the description with these specific, with this specific wording. And if you don't, then I'm going to copyright strike you. So that's what I generally rely on. Which sucks, because there's certain songs which I would love to play on stream that might have revenue sharing, but I can't right now just because I don't know who that is. And it's a little too risky to just guess, right? No complaints on the DK music. I love DK music, but I like the Elder Scrolls mix. Yeah, we can mix it up. I'll bring the DK music mix back at some point. But yeah, I agree. We can have something new just to shake it up a little bit. Okay, he's going to be looking too far that way if I do that for both eyes. So let me see. That's the other thing though. When things get really stylized like this, you have to be very careful where you put your lines, because any single change that you do becomes immediately noticeable. Whereas with a more detailed style, you can get away with lines not being 100% perfect. But when you have a character that is so specific in the design, even a small departure from how the character looks is instantly noticeable. So it makes it a lot trickier. So even though it might be easier to draw in general, it makes staying on model really difficult. Okay, there we go. That's not too bad. How high does his eyebrows go? Oh, they go quite high. Okay. And I had his ears coming out here, but I see they don't really have an anchor point on his forehead. They kind of anchor themselves from the back almost, so I don't need to give up this real estate to his ears, which is what I was worried about. Bad Guys 2 is not doing well. Really? I still need to get to that one as well. I've been too busy watching the most random things on the planet to be up to date with anything. Although I will say, I did watch the entirety of Steven Universe. I have watched the entire show by this point. So that's one thing I'm caught up on now. And I think I definitely will make that video that's giving Steven Universe another chance, because I was not a fan when it originally came out. I believe I talked about this last time. I was not a fan, and it wasn't for any fandom reason. I just had certain things about the show which I really heavily disliked. And now that I've watched the whole thing, those things I disliked about it are still there, but the show gets markedly better once you get past those things. So I just think that'd be an interesting topic to cover. Let's check his mouth. How? Okay, so they get very close to his eyes. I don't need to worry too much about that. And do they touch? They don't really touch the bottom. Okay, so I might have to give him more real estate here. I wanted him to be looking down a little bit, but it does kind of screw up how the real estate of the face is handled. If it's there, so if it's there, so that's the middle, so we can do that. And I can probably just push this a little bit. Something like that. Give it a little bit more space, so we're not having all lines lean into each other. I expect a fully unhinged section about the Lars problem. There will be an entire section in the Steven Universe video just talking about Lars. Yes, we did talk about this last time because somebody joked that I'm the only person in the world that's looking forward to Lars of the Stars. And I've gotten to that point in the show because, well, obviously I've watched the whole thing by now. But I got to that point in the show and I was so angry. I was so angry at the way Lars's character was handled because, again, I'm like the only person on the entirety of the internet who actually likes Lars. And then just the way they handled his character arc is so insane. And even knowing the meta reasons for why they did it that way, I'm still like, yes, but why did you do it that way? I don't get it. Why are you like this? So there's going to be an entire Unhinged rant just about Lars and his role in the story and what on earth the creators of the show were thinking with how they did everything surrounding him, because a lot of it is just insanity to me. Like, I don't get it. I don't get the thought process behind this, other than like self-indulgence, which in my opinion is not a good enough reason. You hate Lars. Yeah, most people hate Lars. I like Lars though. I get Lars. He's the kind of character that I kind of would gravitate towards anyway. I have a soft spot for characters who have like very, very low self-esteem, and it makes them real assholes to a certain degree. But I don't know, it's difficult to explain. I would have to sit down and really think about what it is that draws me to that kind of character. Because the thing is, I really dislike Sadie. And I dislike Sadie also because she has very low self-esteem. But my thing with Sadie is, Sadie's low self-esteem is a problem that she makes other people's problem. And that's the part that I don't like. Whereas Lars, he is just kind of a dick because he has low self-esteem, but he kind of only sabotages his own life. He doesn't really damage anyone else's life with his low self-esteem. So I kind of like him as a character a lot more because of that. Also, you can see I'm more prone to drawing anatomy because I'm like trying to draw in the bicep and stuff where it's like, no, the guy has like noodle arms. There's none of this. Cut it out. Stop trying to apply anatomy rules here. What did Brian say? I watched a lot of 2 episodes of Steven Universe. I think the fandom put me off of it. That I can absolutely understand. I was in a very strange, lucky position where I started watching it just as it was getting popular at the start of season 2, which is exactly the time that when I got to that point in the show, I really disliked it. And then I fell off of it because I didn't like the show. So I got in and got out before the fandom became like a garbage fire. Like, I managed to avoid the whole thing, and it was literally just through luck and timing. Like, it was just pure luck that I managed to avoid that entire disaster. Can't Jax be jacked? I mean, he could, but are we ready for that? And like I said, I keep wanting to apply anatomy. So as you can see, I'm like automatically gravitating towards like a proper rib cage and like a torso trunk and like hips here. I can't help it. It's just like my automatic way of doing characters in general. Let's do that. And his ears come from the back here. And they do have a slight bend to them. Because his design is so simple, I'll take some more time shading him. And maybe if I finish him too quickly, we can draw somebody else as well. Just so that I don't give you guys a short stream. I've never met anyone who hates it, but everyone who likes it seems to say it's their favorite. Oh, you're talking about Star Trek. I thought you were talking about Steven Universe. Yeah, I need to get back to Star Trek as well. I do the thing where I like get into it and I love it, and then I stop watching it and I don't get back to it for like a year. And there's no reason as to why. So then I just end up feeling guilty. And then I end up watching other random things instead. Like, if anyone follows me on Tumblr, they know I've been going on and on about the Great White Silence. Like, that's the thing I really want to finally give a watch. I'm just kind of terrified of it. I'm really scared of watching it because I know it's just going to make me so sad. Okay, so he only has 4 fingers, okay. So instead of watching more Star Trek, I'm like, you know what? I should really watch The Great White Silence from 1924. That's what I should be spending my time on. That being said, I was watching the Netflix documentary about the Boston Red Sox before the stream. So again, my watching habits are a mystery to me more than anyone else. I don't know why I'm like this. And does he have the round? Yes, he is. He's got the little round. The donuts around his hands like this. Let's have a look here. Okay, I think what I've done here is I've given his eyes a little bit too much width, I think. I see that his eyes are actually quite thinner and his mouth is quite thicker. Oops, now push that up a bit, push that there. I'll use the fluid tool as well, or like that. We can just push this a little bit. But yeah, so I'll do the Steven Universe video after I'm done with Velma, I think. Which, the Velma part 2 is coming along. And I'll see how much I have to say about the Halloween special. And if I have a lot to say, I'll make it its own part. And if I just have like a few notes on it, I'll just add it to the end of the video. But most likely it'll end up being its own part, because I will have like final thoughts and like what I liked about the show, because there are things I do like about the show despite it being Velma. But the Halloween special, it's weird because I haven't watched it in a while now, because I haven't gotten there in the videos yet. I can barely remember what happens in the Halloween special. Like, I can remember what happens in the show, even like the really terrible things. But the Halloween special is not nearly as bad as the show itself. But as a result, I can barely remember a single thing that happens in it. So I guess that says something, I suppose. I often tell people who are getting into Star Trek to skip the first season and start around halfway through season 2. And that's when I think they kind of find their stride across all Star Trek shows. I'm guessing you mean TNG. People told me about TNG, but I actually ended up watching season 1 and 2 because I was like, no, well, if I'm going to watch a show, I want to watch the entire show, right? So I'm only a little ways into season 3 now, before I put it down to watch other things. And while I was watching season 1 and 2, I couldn't figure out what everybody's problem was. I'm like, this show is fine. Why does everybody say season 1 and 2 is so bad? It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But then I got to season 3 and I was like, the jump in quality is so shocking. It's like, oh, okay, now I understand. Because the leap in quality from season 2 to season 3 is unreal. Like, it is astronomical, no pun intended, how much better the show gets in season 3. So even me, who was like, no, season 1 and 2 is fine, there's nothing wrong with them, it's just like, no, there's literally no comparison between the first 2 seasons and season 3. And from what I hear, it gets better and it gets worse in places. I am planning to watch the Salamander episode, because that sounds like the kind of awfulness that I would really enjoy. So I'm looking forward to that. But I need to watch this Red Sox video first. There we go. And like I said, I need to catch up on a few shows which I have not gotten to, and it's kind of shocking that I haven't gotten to them. So it's like, I better just get on that. I can't like not have this in my repertoire, right? I need to be able to know what people are talking about when they reference things. But it gets difficult because, I mean, I'm not somebody who watches, I don't want to say I'm not somebody who watches mainstream stuff, because that sounds so pretentious. But it is a fact that a lot of times I gravitate towards weird indie things, or like art films, or like just bizarre things, rather than like, oh, this is the anime everybody's watching right now. This is the cartoon everybody's watching right now. Like, I generally don't automatically get into things like that. And I can't explain why, because it's not that I choose to do that just because I'm trying to be contrarian or not. It's just a natural thing that tends to happen. And like I said, it sucks because it does make me sound like I'm trying to be pretentious on purpose. It's like, no, this is legit just who I am as a person. I can't help it. I think the deeper you go into the art world, the weirder your tastes get. Yeah, because I was talking to my friend about this, he's also an animator, and he was saying he really enjoys the weirdo art movies, because he's like, I know how movies work. I know how stories work. And this is so weird, but there is such an obvious intent behind it. It's not just nonsense for the sake of being nonsense. It's very clear the person who made it had something to say, like there is something going on here that you want to figure out what it is. Like, you want to tap into what the larger conversation is, and as a result you get like really, really intrigued by things that are on the weirder side, because it's so different from everything else, right? It's weird. You'd think if people write something this terrible, there would been someone trying to stop it. Like, Velma is mean to everyone, literally everyone. I was thinking about this in the car today. My thinking was, what was Velma's intent as a show? And there are like marketing words you can use to try and explain what Velma's intent is. Like, oh, it was an attempt to make an adult Scooby-Doo show. And I'm like, no, that's not the show's intent, because it's very obvious that's not what Mindy Kaling, I almost called her Velma, that's not what Mindy Kaling wanted to do, because it's very, very obvious that she didn't give a crap about that side of things, if anything at all. So it's like, okay, well, it's marketing itself as an adult version of Scooby-Doo. That's the marketing side of it, but it doesn't feel like that's the intention of the show. So what is the intention of the show? Because the show is not trying to be for adult animation fans, because it openly insults them in the first season. And everything that it could be drawing inspiration from, it's like making mean comments, like backhanded comments or observations about. So it's not like they're trying to be Family Guy, or they're trying to be South Park, or they're trying to be any of these other things. So what is the intent of the show, other than Mindy wanted a cartoon? Like, she wanted an adult cartoon show that was hers. But I can't say that because I don't know Mindy personally, I don't know her. So I can't like pretend I have this insight into the way her mind works, outside of how she presents herself in public. But it really comes across that the only reason the show exists is because Mindy wanted a cartoon. And that's it. And it's weird because you can't even say it's a vanity project. Because usually with a vanity project, the person who wants the thing will have had an active role in making it. So if Mindy wanted an adult cartoon starring herself, she would have had like writing credits on it. She would have had like directing credits on it, but she doesn't. All she has is executive producer, which could mean anything, but in this case it means extremely little, I feel, because I don't think she had any interest in much of the writing process, other than perhaps being like, oh hey, put a joke making fun of adult cartoon fans because they were mean to me on Twitter. I don't get the impression that she wanted to write something. Like, she wanted a cartoon without putting any effort in. Like, she is pretty much an AI bro. She wanted a product, but she didn't want to make the product. But I can't say that because, again, I don't have insight into how her mind works. So I can't just say, oh, this is what this other human being who I don't know definitely wanted when they made this show. So again, I can make all these like presumptions, but it leaves this strange confusion in me. That's an insult to AI. It leaves this confusion into me as like, why was this show made? Other than Mindy Kaling wanted a show. I was like, well, if she wanted a show, wouldn't she have put more effort into it herself? Even if it's terrible, right? Because if you look at like the movies that Red Letter Media will cover, that's like a vanity project of a director. They will often like star in it, like Mindy did with Velma. Oh, stabilization is not up. They will star in it, but they will also be like, oh, I'm also the director. Oh, I'm also the writer. You know, they'll do everything to realize their vision, right? And with animation, sure, you can't do it to the same degree, but you would think Mindy Kaling would at least have like a co-writing credit or something, and she doesn't. She doesn't have any credit in the writing whatsoever. So again, why was this show made? Wanted the product but didn't want to make the product. You just described 2/3 of my community theater friends. It's amazing how prevalent that is in like all aspects, I guess. Like, there are a lot of jobs in the world where there are people who want the thing, but they don't want to make the thing. What are you guys saying? Me, when I really want to buy something, spend money, then never even open the package. Yeah, kind of. I guess that's one way to describe it. But again, it's an enigma to me, like, why Velma is. But I think it's also an enigma to me because that's genuinely not how my head works. Like, I take pride in the making of. I take great interest in the creation of the thing. And not just the things I work on myself, but also like movies and things and TV shows. I'm very interested in how the thing was built, right? I'm very interested in how this got made. So the concept of wanting a thing but not wanting to make the thing, I mean, I can understand that in a weird way, but that's like with things that aren't my forte, right? I would love to have a sweater, but I don't have a lot of patience to learn knitting. So I would love to have a sweater I made myself, but I don't want to put in the effort of knitting it. Like, I can understand it in that way, but this is Mindy Kaling's career. She works in showbiz. So why is she so uninterested in working in showbiz? It's very strange to me. Like, that's what I don't get. Somehow I only just noticed the avatar opens her mouth when I speak. Yeah, it's because I'm talking so much, because I'm scared of dead air. I need to be like more relaxed about that. In the past, it's because there wouldn't be anything on screen, so I would avoid dead air, because otherwise you guys would just be staring at a canvas being drawn and nothing else. How does this work again? How do you do curves? So I remember it. No, this is continuous. I don't want continuous. But which one is it? It's this one. So in the past, now I'm making a mess. I would just keep talking to fill up air because I was scared of dead air. But if I have something on stream, I can get away with just being quiet for like a minute or two because at least there's something on screen. That's like how most Western AA game developers admit to hating video games. Yeah, but there's also the joke of like, oh, I hate doing this. It's so much work. What was that quote? Oh, it's the quote by Defunct Land, where somebody asked him what is his least favorite part of video making. And Defunct Land answered, I hate writing it, I hate filming it, I hate editing it, I hate uploading it. But the thing I hate most of all is not making a video. And that is exactly it. And I think like certain people will be like, I hate working on X thing, but not working on it is something they hate even more. Do I like King of the Hill? I need to watch more of it because it didn't air here. We got The Simpsons and we got not Family Guy. We got South Park, but we didn't get King of the Hill. So I only really learned about King of the Hill once the internet became a thing, because it just wasn't really aired here. And if it was, it would be like on a subscription channel that we just didn't have. But it wasn't really a cultural thing that people discussed here as they did South Park, especially. Simpsons to a smaller degree, but South Park was like the thing that became really, really big here. And Family Guy was banned. Family Guy is very strange. I don't know whether it's still banned from television broadcast here, because like it's banned from getting played on TV, but you couldn't like buy DVDs of it and it's fine. So it's not that the show itself is banned, it's just that it's banned from television here, which I'm not sure why. I can't remember what it is exactly that made them ban Family Guy. I'll have to look into that, because again, we got South Park, so it's like, okay, well, South Park is like 1,000 times worse in offensiveness to Family Guy, so I don't really understand. There we go. Family Guy should be banned worldwide. Nobody needs Family Guy. Speaking of adult animation, what do you think of Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt? That is a weird one. And I'm going to have to sit down and watch it properly, because again, I am still in theory working on the Daikon video, which I'm going to be saying for months now, because it's one of those videos where it's not like something where I sit, I watch, and I write. I have to gather a lot of research material and basically pump a lot of time into it. Kind of like how I did with the 1930s cartoon video, which I think that video took me 9 months to make. And that was before I had like a job which took up time as well. But anyway, I kind of need to watch Panty and Stocking, because it's the show that led to Gainax basically collapsing in on itself. It wasn't the show that killed... Well, it could be the show that killed Gainax, because it was something about the failure of Panty and Stocking that caused Gainax's owners to make drastic changes to the studio, which the people who made the studio did not approve of, and made a lot of them quit. And, you know, once you get the founding members that made Gainax what Gainax is, once you get them to go, then you're left with the shell of a studio. And Panty and Stocking is the failure of Panty and Stocking is directly tied as to why that happened. Out of curiosity, how many Godzilla movies have you seen? I've seen not that many, but not none. I've seen the first one, I think. I've seen Versus Mothra, which I really like. I really like the Mothra one. I've seen the 1985 one, which most people don't like, but I kind of like that one. I think I enjoy it. And I've seen Shin Godzilla, and I've seen Godzilla -1. So not many, but quite a few. I need to watch more of them. I want to watch the Versus the Smog Monster one. It was made in the 70s, and it's like running purely on like LSD. Like that entire movie is just a fever dream in the most condensed way. So I'm like, oh, I'll probably enjoy that one. That's one that I'm probably going to like a lot. I saw the first episode of Panty and Stocking, but it wasn't my thing. you think it would be, but yeah, I remember when Panty and Stocking first aired, people asked Jonan Vasquez how he felt about the fact that there is a mascot character in it that is literally just Gur from Invadism. And Jonan Vasquez replied, he's just glad that Gur managed to escape the Hot Topic dungeon. So there's that. That's like, apart from the transformation sequence, that is my most known fact about the show itself, aside from like all the Gynax nonsense. Like, the only thing I know about the show itself is the art style, the transformation sequences, and the fact that Jonan Vasquez didn't give a shit that there's like an obvious Gur copy in the show, which is very funny. Oh, so like Paramount making changes to Fleischer and then pinning the blame on the brothers feuding. Yeah, exactly, kind of. It's like, oh, this show that you guys wanted to make didn't make money. Now all that we're going to make from now on is sequels and prequels to the projects we already own. And then the animation guys were like, that sucks. If you do that, we're leaving. And the people who own Gynax were like, fine, leave then. And they were like, okay, we will. And then they left. And then Gynax tried to make a new show, like a Magical Girl show, and it was an absolute disaster. And then it came out that one of the owners, like the new owners, was in shit with minors, as always. And then he got thrown in jail. And then Gynax was like utterly cooked after that. So that is like the absolute shortest way to explain just the utter nonsense that was the destruction of Gynax. But yeah, it basically boiled down to, oh, we're going to do something stupid. Oh no, we killed the studio. File for bankruptcy. Not sure if you heard, but Studio Trigger finally gave the sequel after 15 years. I've heard good things about it. Panty and Stocking. Yes, I did see that. Which, again, if Trigger's doing it, it'll be fine. And the reason they're doing it is because when Gynax filed bankruptcy, all of their IPs got sold off. Well, not all of them, but the vast majority of their IPs got sold off. And the original members who founded Gynax, they were all the people who bought the IPs. Which is kind of amazing. So happy ending, I guess. Because now Trigger owns most of the Gynax IPs. Hideaki Anno owns Evangelion, like his studio owns Evangelion. So, like, happy ending. Can't remember the last movie I watched, but it was either Sons of Steel or a rewatch of Suspiria. Ooh, which Suspiria? I've seen the 70s one. I haven't seen the new one yet. I want to, but I like the 70s one so much. I'm afraid to watch the 2018 one because I hear it's good, but it's very, very different to the 70s one, and I'm just worried that I'm not going to enjoy it as a result. Or I would have to, like, separate the fact that it's Suspiria in my mind to enjoy it. But 70s Suspiria is so good. It's so good. That's amazing that they brought back all their own IPs. Yeah, they left. The studio died due to the management's incompetence. And then the people who created the IPs just got all of them back. And that's why we're getting a sequel to Panty and Stocking. Almost like I don't think that was the intention, but you can almost see it as a level of pettiness, because Panty and Stocking was the thing that caused the higher ups to be like, oh no, we're betraying the identity of your studio. And now that Trigger has the IP back, they're like, well, guess what? Now we're making a sequel. If that was the motivation, that's kind of amazing, but I don't think it is. Say no more. They Weinstein themselves. Isn't Gynax still around as a holding company? Yeah, they're like around for certain things. Like they're holding on to certain things, but they're not really like a studio that makes things. anymore. I'm unsure what it is exactly that they're handling, but it's like some very specific legal thing where I don't know if it's like merchandising or something like that. It might be, but it's something along those lines. They don't exist as like an anime studio anymore. They exist as like a legal entity, I guess is the best way to say it. The original, but I did like the newer one too. Oh, that's good to know. Because yeah, the original is so good. If you guys haven't seen Suspiria, please watch Suspiria. It's really, really, really good. If you've never seen Italian horror from the 70s, it's a good place to start, but you will probably also kind of be a little culture shocked because it is so unlike other genres. I don't know what it was about the 70s because like sci-fi from the 70s from France was something very specific. Horror from Italy in the 70s was something very specific, like compared to like modern Italian horror, if there is any, there probably is. And like modern sci-fi that you'd see from France and things like that. No, there was something going on in the 70s. Oh, hey, Shady Durag. Will your ranking of every animated Disney movie ever return, or are you done with those? I'm aware that there are likely a lot of work for little return, but I highly enjoy the two you've already made. Thank you. Yeah, I talk about this often. I absolutely do want to return to them. I just what's the word? Intimidated myself out of them because the next movie I have to cover is The Little Mermaid, which is my favorite Disney movie. And also there is so much information regarding The Little Mermaid because it is such an important movie, specifically for Disney, but also as a whole. And I have so much to say about it. So the fact that it's my favorite and there's so much going on in that movie and the importance and all the detail that went into it, I really like freaked out about how much that part of the video is going to take. And I'm like, oh geez, this was supposed to be like a ranking video where I just kind of talk a little bit about each movie. But as usual, I can't stop talking. So each section covering the movie just gets longer and longer. And I'm like, oh geez, The Little Mermaid's coming up. How the hell am I supposed to be concise about it? But I do intend to go back. Once I get past like The Little Mermaid, I think it'll be smoother sailings. It's just The Little Mermaid that's kind of freaking me out because I just have so much to say about it. And a large part of that is because I like it so much. Your Disney vids are what made me become a fan. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I want to get back to videos like that because making videos like yelling at Velma, I enjoy making those. Those are fun. But I also want to put out videos with a little bit more effort put into them just because I like research. It takes up a lot of time, but I really, really enjoy doing the research and gathering information and like reading through the information. It takes so much time because I over-research things that I'm quite aware of, but it makes it more fun. And I like making a video and presenting all the information. South Africa worked on Caillou. I'm not sure. One season of Caillou, I'd have to see who worked on that because I don't know whether we had a large enough industry for that. I would have to check. Maybe Triggerfish was around for that. Maybe. I would have to check. Triggerfish might have been around for that because I know that Triggerfish did some stuff for Takalani Sesame. I don't know whether Studio Trigger did anything for Sesame Street itself. But I know they did animated segments for Takalani Sesame, so it might have been them. I'd have to look into that. Makes Monster River series like the Velma reviews. Yeah, I want to make videos with more effort involved. I mean, that hate comments I got that says these aren't a review, they're a tantrum, that lives in my head rent-free. Mainly because it's such a good line. It's such an amazing sentence. But I'm like, yeah, it is kind of me yelling a lot. Whereas if I look back at like the 1930s cartoon video, that is like a high effort video because I put so much like time into just gathering research to the best of my ability. And it would be nice to cover something like that where it's not just me yelling about, oh look how terrible it is, these are all the reasons it's terrible, but like really diving into the nitty-gritty of the making of, basically. if you have HBO Max, you can watch almost the entirety of the Showa Godzilla films and half of the Heisei Godzilla films. Unfortunately, HBO Max is not available in my country. That doesn't mean I can't find those movies, but I can't find them on HBO Max. Let me put it that way. But it's fine. I know places where I can get it. It's okay. I do have like all the Gamera films on DVD though. I haven't watched all of them. I've watched a few, but Gamera, I'm set. Like, I'm good on Gamera. It's just Godzilla. I want to get a big box set of it, but it's a little pricey, and my country isn't like super into DVDs. I think people here prefer streaming, which is really annoying because I really want physical media, and a lot of places here just don't import it, which is really frustrating to me. My ceiling for effort is 10 levels below your floor. Nah, but like I said, I'm just intimidated by The Little Mermaid. Maybe what I should do is I should sit down and I should look at the parts about The Little Mermaid that I'm intimidated to talk about. And a lot of it is like the Howard Ashman stuff and the importance of Howard Ashman and his influence and Howard Ashman himself and that entire like meta commentary of the movie, which ties into like Hans Christian Andersen himself and like all of that. I think that's like the part that I'm most scared about, as well as just my personal investment in the film. I should outline what scares me the most, and then I should find a way to really strip down the video. You know what I mean? Like figure out how to simplify it. So it's not sitting in my head as this overbearing project because there's so much to cover. And it's like, well, if you cover it in tinier bites, it doesn't become so overwhelming, basically. Doesn't mean I can't find them, just not on HBO Max. Yeah, exactly, the boy. Yes, you understand. I've listened to the sample recordings of Howard Ashman singing in the Little Mermaid songs and I cried. Yeah, I've got the documentary just called Howard. I've got a digital copy of it. Again, don't ask how. I haven't watched it yet just because I know it's going to destroy me. I'm going to get extremely sad about it. Even though it's a Disney documentary, so I don't know how honest they'll be in it. But I have heard like... The thing about Disney is the less attention the higher ups are paying to the thing you're working on, the better it is. Because when I was at Comic-Con, I was buying the graphic novel, like the complete edition of the Darkwing Duck comic, because it's really, really good. And it deals with really interesting subjects that you couldn't really do in a cartoon. It doesn't go like off the wall or anything. It doesn't get like crazy or like super dark or anything. But it deals with interesting things that you wouldn't think from like a Darkwing Duck comic. And when I bought the omnibus, the guys who wrote it said to me, the reason they were able to do that was because Disney did not give a crap about Darkwing Duck when they made that comic. Disney did not give a shit. So they could do almost anything apart from like going completely off the wall. And Disney would not care because it's an IP they don't care about. However, the second the 2017 DuckTales started airing, Disney started caring. And then they put a kibosh on a lot of plans that the writers had for the Darkwing Duck comic. So my point is, for the Howard documentary, I don't know how sanitized that documentary will be. Because my guess is the people who made the documentary are very passionate about Howard Ashman and his life and his influence. I imagine that they really cared. I'm not sure how much interference the heads at Disney would give that documentary, like how sanitized they would make it. Because the reason why the making of Wish is so terrible is because you can tell that making of was scrubbed clean with like peroxide to get rid of absolutely anything that wasn't marketable. That making of is such a travesty. It is so bad, and that's why so much of my review on Wish, or rather just Magnifico himself, that's why so much of it is just focused on the making of, because the making of is also just a horrendous product. It's so bad. But again, I'm not sure how involved they would be with a documentary on Ashman. I also have the Not Just the Goof documentary, which I want to sit down and watch. And I'm guessing that one, the documentary creators could do whatever the hell they wanted, because Disney famously does not give a crap about a goofy movie. Like, they do not care. And from the reviews I saw on Letterboxd, Disney is really framed as like the ultimate villain in that documentary. So again, I don't think Disney cared about that one. Essentially, your quality of product is in exact contrast to Disney's attention to it. Wish in general was a confusing mess. Yeah. Again, I don't really like... it may not seem this way from my videos. I don't really like looking into the meta that creators do when they work on something. Like, I don't like going to Twitter to find out what the creators had to say about the canon of certain characters or certain events. I don't care. But with something like Wish, it is so terrible that I am like, I need an explanation for this. I need you to sit down and explain to me why this final product is like this. Because this is insane. It is absolutely insane that this is what the final product is like. I need you to explain how we got here, because I cannot fathom how we got here. And that's kind of why I watched the Wish making of and lost my mind watching it with a friend of mine who works in the film industry themselves, and we were just like losing it at how bad this thing was. So that was also a large part of the Wish video, was just me going, holy hell, what on earth is going on at Disney? And again, the only reason I watched it in the first place was because I was like, you need to explain why Wish is like this, because it is unacceptable that Wish is in the state it is. That's just not okay. I've not kept up with Disney, but I feel like I'm not missing much. Yeah, nah. I haven't been keeping up with them that much either. I know that Eyja didn't do well, and I kind of want to watch the movie, but I also want to hear what people have to say about it, because I've been hearing lots of like interesting opinions. One thing that I've seen more than one person say is a big problem with Eyja is the composition, where the entire movie feels like its composition is such that it is ready to be cropped in portrait mode so that people can upload clips of it to TikTok. Like, the movie is already geared, and because it's geared to have its composition be that way, the entire movie looks awful, because everything has to happen like within the TikTok border of the frame. So there's no interesting shots, there's no interesting staging going on in that movie. But I want to watch the movie myself, because that is a very bold claim. I can believe it. I can absolutely believe that that's something that the movie has done. But I want to sit and watch it first, because I have learned, just the short time I've been making videos for YouTube, people will say something and it'll be incorrect, but then also the reality will be so much more insane than the popular rumor. And I learned this when I erroneously said that the creator of Madoka Magica said something along the lines of girls should suffer, or something along that line. I can't even remember right now. It's been a few years. And then I looked into where that quote came from, and it turns out he was not talking about that at all. He was like talking about the tsunami that had just hit Japan. That was wild to me. I was on the floor, like, just how twisted that interview became, because people would like quote it purposefully wrong to like discredit the show. And then I found that again while I was making the Disney videos, specifically the Jungle Book, where so many people were saying, oh, the monkeys in the Jungle Book are super racist because they're playing jazz, and it's exceptionally racist of Disney to portray the black musicians as monkeys in the Jungle Book, to the point where if you fire up the Jungle Book on Disney Plus, there's like a little cultural warning at the front that says things portrayed in this movie are now outdated, blah blah blah. And then I looked it up, and the thing was, Disney was considering hiring Louis Armstrong to be the voice of King Louis, but Disney in the 60s had the insight to realize maybe we should not cast a black musician to play a monkey. That might be not a good move. So they purposefully didn't do that and hired an Italian swing band from Las Vegas, where every member of the band is white and Italian, to avoid that comparison, because the entire point is, oh, they're monkeys, it's swing music. Get it? It's a pun. Monkeys swing music. So Disney purposefully tried their best not to accidentally pull an extremely racist move, and then people still in modern day call them racist for doing the thing they actively avoided. And when I learned that while making that video, I was like, you know what? I don't believe any of these like online articles anymore. I know I quote them quite often in my video because sometimes you can find good interviews, but wow, I was so floored by that, because I was like, yeah, of course Disney is going to have some outdated cultural things in it. Of course it will. It's a company that's over 100 years old. But like, you see some of these articles and they're written as if the person writing it is like frothing at the mouth. They're like so indignant at how angry they are at the racism that big bad Disney showed in the 60s. And I'm like, that's literally the opposite of what's actually going on here. And then because Disney, like in modern day, is such a soulless corporation, they're like, oh, well, people are saying that this movie is racist. We better put a warning in front of it for something that's not in the movie. I'm like, you wanna complain about the crows in Dumbo? That's fine. I fully understand that. There's an interesting, more nuanced conversation there, but it's not a good look, and it is racist at the end of the day. But to then like apply to the Jungle Book, which again, I was fully intent on believing until I looked into it further and did my research, that is insane to me. And again, that's what like really taught me, hey, you really need to double check some of this by going to like original sources, like what do you call that? Like the root source. Don't listen to secondhand information. Don't listen to like something that's quoting something. Go to Wikipedia and follow those citations to the original source, because sometimes it's literally the opposite of what's being said, and it drives me insane. Like, I could not believe that. Silly YouTuber artist, the truth doesn't matter. What matters is how I feel, and I felt someone somewhere might be offended. No, of course. And again, it's crazy because this wasn't like some random article on some pay by exposure article website. This was like, it was like Paragon or something. It was like and I know Paragon isn't exactly a reliable source. Oops, my connection just dropped. Hold on, I might have to just switch to data. Give me a sec. Just gonna switch to data. Comes back. Okay, there we go. I'm back. Sorry about that. My data dropped for a second and I just had to switch over for a sec. Damn the tourists. Now my sources, I made it the fuck up. Okay, I'm back. I should be back now. But yeah, primary source, that's the word. Thank you. Just let me know when I'm back up. We're back in the fucking building again. Yeah, just let me know before I continue drawing. Otherwise, I'm like leaving you guys behind. And that's not cool. Let me grab some Pepsi while I'm waiting to see the chat has caught up with me. Because my thing is saying, okay, I'm back. Okay, hey. I can see and hear you. You can see me. You're in the house. But yeah, primary sources. But yes, this was some larger article site. And the thing is, this one site said this, and then as I was doing more research to gather more sources and stuff, because I look at multiple sources before I say something, all of them were quoting this thing about the Jungle Book, and every single one of them linked back to the original article. And I was like, none of you have watched the movie since you were like 12. Like, none of you have sat down and watched this movie. It's very clear to me. And not a single one of you picked up a book at any point in your lives, because it took me 5 minutes of browsing the internet to get to like the reality of the situation. What the crow from Dumbo is racist? In a technical way. The problem with the crows in Dumbo is that they were making a pun about Jim Crow, and it's just kind of a bad look. It's not that the crows themselves are specifically racist caricatures themselves. They are to a certain extent, but I don't want to say I understand where they're coming from. But the thing is, right, when I was researching the history of jazz music, why are you saying no data? Why? Okay, there we go. It was saying no data and excellent connection at the same time. I've never seen that before. It's like, no data, but the connection is excellent. Anyway, when I was doing my research on the history of jazz music, there was a lot of talk about Black culture in the 1920s in America. So the crows in Dumbo are very rooted in like that cultural context, right? They do sing a little bit like swing music and stuff, like early jazz in Dumbo, but the caricatures themselves kind of call back to that. However, it's a caricature which unfortunately has been like weaponized in the following years and decades to be purposefully malicious, which is not what I think Dumbo was trying to do. I don't think it was being purposefully malicious, but it was playing into stereotypes which were then later severely weaponized into being racist calling cards. And just the fact that, you know, they're crows played by Black musicians is like, man, I don't know, guys. And the other thing is, people are like, oh, well, the crows aren't even voiced by Black musicians. They're played by white people. And that's why it's like super racist, because, you know, people will like tier list. They have like a tier list from S to like F on how racist something is. And then they have like a checkbox. And then they check like how many bingo cards they cross off to like determine the racism of something. Anyway, the Crows in Dumbo were played by a very small Black jazz group that was in a town close to LA. Except for the main crow, like the leader crow, he's voiced by the guy who voiced Jiminy Cricket and who was white. And then you're like, okay, well, it is racist then. And it's like, yeah, technically. But the reason they gave that character that voice is because that voice actor was a person who was very hard, and he was like down on his luck quite often, and he struggled with drinking, but he was a friend of Walt Disney Studio. So Walt and crew would try and find roles that they could give him just so that they could continue providing him with an income. Even if it was like a bit part or a cameo part or something very, very small, that they could pay him a salary. Because he did the voice of Jiminy Cricket, he was a very famous vaudeville star before Disney, and they wanted to basically stop this guy from starving. And when he was no longer well and he was put in a care facility, Disney paid for his care up until his death. So they gave him the role of Jim Crow in Dumbo, which wasn't great, not a good idea. But that's why they did that. It wasn't because they didn't want to cast a Black musician in that role. It's because they were looking for ways that they could employ this person, because they were doing that in many other ways as well. So again, it's not that it's okay. but there is a lot more nuance, and it's a lot more murky as to what was going on with the crows and Dumbo than just to say, oh, they were just being horrendously racist. There are other ways they were being horrendously racist, make no mistake, but the crows is not the slam dunk that people think it is. The centaur in Fantasia is the slam dunk people want it to be, because there is no excuse for that. There is literally absolutely no excuse for that whatsoever. But the crows are not really not that big of a slam dunk. It's not okay. It's very problematic, but there is a lot more that was going on there than just, oh, let's be racist, guys. Oh, the real slam dunk though, the real slam dunk for racism is the Native Americans in Peter Pan, which is like one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, yikes. Holy shit. You know? You want to talk about racist depictions in Disney movies? Peter Pan is at the top of the list. Like, it is insane to me what that movie is like. You forgot about that? Everybody forgets about that. I forgot about that until I was revisiting the movies for my video, and I was like, holy crap, what the fuck is going on? And like, then you have Return to Neverland, the sequel that they made in the early 2000s. And in the sequel, they're like, yeah, the Native Americans, they left the island. And I'm like, yeah, I know. They left the island so that you didn't have to show them, because there was no way in hell you could show those caricatures and have it be respectful in any way, shape, or form, because it's like the most racist thing I've ever seen in my life. So you're just like, oh no, they left. They are not here anymore. And it's like, good. I'm glad I don't want these caricatures in this movie anymore. And I might be loath to say it, but I genuinely think that Return to Neverland might be the better movie compared to the original Peter Pan. I did not like the original Peter Pan upon a rewatch. The animation in it is some of the best 2D animation I've ever seen, but in terms of a movie, it's not good. And I had an entire rant in it on my Disney video about how I could not understand how a movie made while Walt Disney was alive, essentially about the desire of escapism from a family that does not understand you. I don't understand how a man like Walt Disney, like, you could have that story concept and it was not delivered or even banked upon. Like, they did not cash in on any of that subtext whatsoever, and they just kind of made it this very toothless nothing movie. That's wild to me, especially because like Walt channeled a lot of his interests into a lot of other projects. And the thing is, right, like, he was distracted because he was making Disneyland at that part, but still, I'm like, everything went through Walt. Even though he was distracted with Disneyland, everything went through Walt. And I don't understand how Peter Pan, like, ended up this way. This should have been a slam dunk. I don't get it. Hook is good. Hook is very good. The live action Hook, I grew up on that movie, so I am biased, but genuinely, absolutely fantastic movie. It's so good. How the hell did Return to Neverland make it into theaters? I have no idea. I don't know how that happened, but I don't think I'm mad at it. It's not like great or anything, but I think it does a lot better than the original Peter Pan, except for animation. Again, the animation in the original Peter Pan is like literally insane. I'm saying literally a lot, but I don't know how else to emphasize just the level of quality in that film in terms of like how characters move. It's shockingly well done. Hook is the best Pan movie. I really like the 2003 one. I genuinely do. I don't know whether I like it more than Hook, but I feel that movie captures what Peter Pan is a lot better than any of the others. Hook gets close, but Hook kind of has its own agenda of what story it's trying to tell, which is not the story that Peter Pan is about. And I think out of all of them, the 2003 one gets the closest, but it also kind of skirts by a lot of the sadder elements of Peter Pan, which is inherent in the book. It's not me like reading into things as to why Peter Pan is actually a very tragic story. Like, that stuff is in the book. Maybe they just thought Peter Pan was too dark. They had to soften it up. Yeah, but it's just weird to me because, like, I guess it was like 10 years earlier, but Walt was the one pushing for Bambi to be as dark as it is. Walt wanted it to be darker than how Bambi turned out. And then you get to Peter Pan, and it's just so much less. It feels a lot more like trying to recapture like the childhood Walt remembers having. Like, it feels much more in line with that than it does actually looking into the story of Peter Pan himself. I had like this entire rant in the video about this because I was left flabbergasted. I'm like, how do you make this movie with these people involved and end up with this as the final product? It's very strange. But yeah, I do acknowledge that I have a slightly parasocial interest in Walt's life outside of being a filmmaker and the things that happen to him, like, throughout his life beyond just being a filmmaker. So it's entirely possible where I'm like, no, he should have done this because based on his character backstory, like, if you look at the lore, like, you know, like that kind of approach, and it's like, dude, he was a real person, calm down. Substitute chemistry teacher. Hey CPUF, have you ever found yourself confused when somebody said that X new thing is the first ever form of representation in media when they ignore several decades worth of representation? Oh yeah. I actually mentioned that in something else. I can't remember what it was exactly now, but I was wondering, speaking of Disney, the first gay character thing. And that's an interesting topic of conversation because you could say, like, oh, The Great Mouse Detective is definitely the first one, and it's entirely down to Vincent Price. But I kind of also want to tackle that when I talk about The Little Mermaid, because The Little Mermaid is inherently written to be a queer perspective. Like, straight up, not even by accident. Like, that is the intent of that movie. That movie, its intention... Oh, we're back? Did I skip? I didn't even see it. Sorry, guys. But anyway, the entire intention, like the subtext of The Little Mermaid, is about being a story from a queer perspective, rebranded as a hetero romance, just so that the perspective can be communicated to a larger audience. Like, there is an entire conversation you can have about that as like the first gay story that Disney ever had, and how that ties into like their 50 first gay characters that they tried to do. I think they've given up on that because it's such a meme. But yeah, that's one. What else? Again, there was a few of them. The big discussion over the first magical girl is a big one as well, because there are so many caveats there. Sailor Moon is not the first magical girl, but she's the first magical girl that like fought bad guys and like was basically a Super Sentai show. But then you're like, yes, but it was inspired by Cutie Honey, which is not a magical girl show, even though it has all the magical girl tropes in it. And then you have Princess Knight, and like that's technically magical girl in all but name. So again, that's another one where the first of something becomes very confused, because like, where do you draw the line as being the thing, like the original thing? But there have been others where people are like, oh, this is the first time we've ever had X, and I'm like, no, it's not. Not even close. For many conservative families of the 50s, their view of the world was shaped through Walt. Yeah, a lot of that. Which again, I think that's a bigger conversation than what I can have just off the fly on a stream. But I think there is a larger discussion there regarding, oh, everybody is letting, you know, iPads raise their children. And it's like, yeah, it's not that different from like what people did in the 50s with like television and movies and all of that. It's more of the same. It's just a different flavor. But I think that's a larger discussion. And I would, again, I don't want to just say things even though it makes sense to me. I would actually have to look at facts, not just because something feels like it vibes correctly. I'd have to check the actual factual things, then just say something. They really should have cast someone like Latrice Royale or Eureka O'Hara to play Ursula in the remake. They should have. Latrice Royale would have been perfect for Ursula. I don't understand why they did not do that. Like, I legitimately don't. That's another thing where I'm like, guys, I don't follow along with your thought process. I don't understand the thought process here, even in the slightest. Like, why did you not do this? This is the easiest thing you could possibly have done, and you didn't do it, and I don't understand. It's fair to say their view of the world was shaped through Walt, or that Walt was perpetuating what was already a popular mindset. Yeah, see, it's an interesting discussion to have. Because, again, I'm slightly parasocial about it, but a lot of Walt's interpretation that he presents in his animated work was shaped by his own childhood. The parts that were good, but also the parts that were very, very, very bad. So I feel that also ties into it a lot. And Walt was one of those people, I feel, where yes, he was like, he had like this vision of like moving forward in many, many ways. But also I think he was extremely nostalgic for, in a way where you could be like, oh, he's a man trapped in his own past, which I think is true. He has many layers. Again, I need to get back to reading his biography. It's very, very interesting. I've been reading the autobiography of Billy Connolly, though, and that's kind of taken up my attention in the meantime, because that is fascinating. Good Lord. Unrelated, but I feel like your VTuber models should keep opening and closing their mouth like bad anime mouth flaps. I've actually considered whether I should add that to videos, because it wouldn't be that hard to do. Is like give the little avatar I use not just the blink that she does every now and then, but that also give her anime mouth flaps, just because it's not a lot of effort to look a lot more interesting than some other animated avatars I've seen out there. That being said, though, I recently watched that video by what is this man's name? The video on the game The Isle, that dinosaur game. And this guy, Zenny made a video on The Isle and why it's the worst game that's ruined his life. And he has a little animated avatar. He's got like a Transformers OC that's fully animated in between the shorter parts where it's just his little avatar. But he's got a lot of poses and like very, very small animations that I was super impressed by. And it made me like want to up my game in my own videos as well. I did upgrade my sound system. I got the like booth to cancel out some of the noise, so I'm hoping to get rid of the echo the room echo that I often struggle with in my videos. And my friend helped me set up Reaper, the audio program, and just kind of balance it out so it's more equipped to handle my voice and just kind of make it nicer to listen to. So I'm hoping that the audio quality will be higher in the next video, because that's something that I've struggled with for years. And I want to up, like I said, I just want to up that quality. And yeah, seeing Zenny's video and just the production quality of that also made me feel like I want to up my own quality in certain ways, which I think will be really cool. Hell yeah, we're getting professional. As someone who's not as parasocially involved with him as CPAP, my thoughts are that Walt is a guy who never forgot what it was like to be a kid, someone who wanted kids to feel the way he did or the way he wanted to. Kind of reminds me of Chris Columbus. I think he's very similar as a nostalgic filmmaker, wanting to convey his own childhood to other kids. Yeah, a lot of it is that. And then you kind of add in the bullshit of his father, which, again, Elias makes me very, very angry, to a point where I actually just want to double check some of my facts, that I'm not like angry at the man for things that were greatly exaggerated. But Elias makes me mad. I get very annoyed at Elias. But I feel that had a very, very large part into how Walt handles nostalgia. So that also, it definitely has to play a part. I think it's impossible for it not to. So that's like an entire thing going on as well. Hey, Plantosaurus. While we're on the subject of Disney, do you agree that Donkey Kong Bonanza gives off classic Disney vibes with the friendship between DK and Pauline? I still need to watch Vinny play it. I hear the game is doing quite well, which is good. I don't know if I want to say I'm glad about it, because I've got no investment in Nintendo whatsoever. But I've seen some of the character designs, and I like the way it looks. At least it looks really, really good. But I haven't seen enough of it to give an opinion on the writing of it, aside from like, not Zero, a Fully Rambolics video. I wanted to say Zero punctuation. I'm like, that's not what he goes by anymore. But Zero, Fully Rambolics video on it, he was talking about how unimportant the plot is in a Donkey Kong game. But yeah, I'll have to look into that. Just in terms of storytelling, which has never really been Nintendo's focus at all. Vinny actually watched the entirety of the Mario anime from 1986 on his channel because he watched the restoration, and Nintendo has no interest in like enforcing their copyright on that thing. So you can watch the entire Mario anime movie on Vinny's channel, and you can just watch Vinny extremely enjoy it, because Vinny, he does not watch anime, but he really loves Mario. So he just enjoyed it, even though he was really confused by a lot of anime tropes that happen in it, which is kind of funny in its own way. Are they making a Coco sequel? I don't know, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did. Do you think future Disney sequels could be good? Coco 2, Toy Story 5, or Frozen 3? I don't know, because I don't think it's the project itself that determines the quality. What determines the quality at Disney at the moment is, it's not even management, it is their workflow. And I think the problem with Disney is their workflow and like how their animation pipeline is structured. Like, that is where the problem is. And it's something that has not been resolved yet, because there recently was an announcement that the actors had finished filming the new Marvel movie, but the script is still being written, which is how Disney has been doing Marvel for a while now, and they obviously haven't learned anything yet. So if they have not learned anything with Marvel, I don't know whether they've learned anything with their feature film department at all. And until they fix their pipeline, the movies are going to be bad. It doesn't matter if it's a sequel, it doesn't matter if it's a new IP. The movie is going to be bad because their pipeline, their management, and their writers and their pedigree is fucked up. Like, they've completely fucked it. And they've got nobody to blame but themselves for that. People started comparing it to Wreck-It Ralph, and I'm like, guys, did you forget who that character is based off? That's weird too, right? Because if people are whining that, oh, it's like Wreck-It Ralph, that's like complaining that, which I'm sure people do, but that's like complaining that, oh, Twilight Princess is based off of Okami. And it's like, guys, do you know what Okami is based off of? You know, it's such a ridiculous thing to get up in arms about. And I'm the person who hates references and things. And I'm the one sitting here being like, guys, this is a reach. Jenkins is the best Mass Effect squad mate. Wait, they don't care about Mario anime but still copyright claim YouTube vids on the CDI games. If I were them, I don't get why they wouldn't want to bury them in the sand. That is weird. I did not know they were copyright claiming the CDI games. Yeah, I don't know why they're not going after the Mario anime. The music in it is copyright in parts, but unless they're like copyright claiming it, like they allow the video to stay up, they just want the money from it, they might be doing that. because you can't see that unless you're the person who uploaded it. You can't see that on the description page. But yeah, like Vinny just reacted to the remaster, and it's still up. It's still on his channel in full, the entire thing, and nobody cared. So okay, I want to try something. I'm actually going to see whether I can do that here. I saw Sai Scribbles do something which was very interesting. So what she did is she duplicated the flat colors. Then she made a new correction layer. Was it... I think it was this one, hue. And then she just changed the hue slightly. And then what she did was she used the erase tool. Maybe it'll work. I might have to change the... Yeah, I might have to change this a little bit more. Hold on. I don't know whether this is going to work. I just want to give it a try. Put it all the way there. Maybe turn down luminosity a little bit. Yeah, I don't know whether this is going to work. I don't know. I'll try this a little bit more specifically off stream. I just kind of want to give it a try. But as I said in my last stream, I do want a larger topic of conversation in the Steven Universe video that I want to do about my hang-ups regarding references and like copying anime and stuff like that. I'm actually going to not do this. I think it's going to take too much finagling to do it on the fly during a stream. So instead, I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way and just go with like linear lights instead. If your new game plus Mass Effect, you can fully stat up to a level 60 Jenkins and he still dies in one hit. Plot anti-armor. I mean, he was destined to die. His parents named him Jenkins on like when the sun was in its 5th house and the moon was in Saturn or whatever. They named him Jenkins, and on that day his fate was sealed. That's a little dark. And you need to go blue. No. Push it here, push it here. Linear light is so finicky. That's the only bad thing about it. Here we go. Do it this way. Linear light, there we go. Actually, let's do it with the brush tool. There, better. I really used to like the MCU, but bringing back the old characters and old actors instead of finally making the new characters interesting is the wrong thing to do. Yeah, I am so checked out of the MCU. I kind of just listen to Mauler and them yell about it because they actually care, whereas I don't. I just enjoy hearing people complain about it. The people complaining about it are far more entertaining than the movie itself. So I'll leave that up to them. But my theory would be that Disney is panicking because nobody gives a crap about the new MCU characters. So instead of making the characters interesting, they're relying on nostalgia instead. Hey, feed me lore. I've no context for any of the Mass Effect stuff, and it's absolutely hilarious without it. There is a character called Jenkins, as in Leroy Jenkins, who dies in the very first tutorial mission. So that is the lore. And it's kind of amazing. Welcome to the world of mainstream comics, where they refuse to let characters end their freaking stories. It's so funny because back in caveman times, when the very first, what do they call it? Phase 1 of the MCU was rolled out, and the second the Avengers movie happened, I said out loud to people, they are going to have the exact same problem the comics have, where eventually there is going to be so much homework involved in watching these movies that they are not going to be able to like build a new audience, because nobody wants to do 5 years of homework or 10 years of homework or 20 years of homework just to watch a movie. You know, only like fans that are already invested want to give that level of devotion to a film series, which is the problem the comics have. And the comics also have the problem that no story is allowed to just end. It always has to set up the next story. And guess what? Here we are almost 20 years later, and that exact thing has happened. And I can't even say, oh, I told you so, because it's so obvious. Like, it's like saying, oh, I told you so because the sun came up the next day. You know, it's like, yeah, big shock. It's not exactly the hard thing to predict. But it was wild to me because I'm like, guys, we are literally making the exact same mistakes. We are making the literal exact same mistakes. Why is everybody so excited about this? I only foresee problems. My mom just found a bunch of Sonic comics out here from when I was a kid, and a random cow and chicken one I have no memory. Oh, cow and chicken one I have no memory of. Yeah, there is a great Tumblr blog called Thanks Ken Penders, where the person running that blog read all of the Archie comics in order, and it's really funny. She like live blogged her reading experience with the comics. It's hilarious. It's so messed up. I foolishly thought it was leading towards a trilogy of Avenger movies and would end after that. Well, that's what they should have done. But money. It's so stupid because you're like, oh, it can't be as simple as money, but then it is. It's always as simple as money. Every single time, it's as simple as just money. And it's like, dude, could you not be this stereotypical as like a business owner? Can you not be this cartoonish and obvious? And no, every single time they are indeed just that cartoonish and obvious. To the point where I'm like, guys, it's not even that I'm just bored. You're not even like evil in an interesting way. You're just cartoonish. It's not even interesting. There's nothing interesting about this. Do this. I'm gonna have to erase that. Hold on. I'm just gonna erase. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna have to do it in parts, in like sections. So I'll do the head first. Oh dear. Okay. Let's grab it from here. Grab that and expand by 2 pixels. There we go. Now I can go back here and then do the highlights. There we go. I was the biggest MCU whore back in the day. I even watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when it was airing. Yeah, jeez. The thing is, right, I watched very little of the MCU. I watched all of Phase 1, then I watched the Avengers movie, and then I basically only watched the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I didn't watch the rest. Which there are some good movies I've missed out on, which I will probably go back to eventually. Like, everybody tells me that the Captain America Winter Soldier is really, really, really good. But I was so uninterested for the exact same reasons I struggle with superhero comics. It's just there's so much research that eventually has to happen. Not even research, it's just straight up homework. I don't want to like besmirch the good name of research. And I don't know, I just don't have the patience for it. I would rather watch The Great White Silence from 1924. The MC movie Avengers Doomsday brings back everyone, even actors that said they wouldn't return, let the characters die, make the new characters more interesting. Half of them I barely even know. Yeah, it's rough though, because there is that problem of like, who are these new people? Why should I care? But for some reason, in its 100 years history, Disney keeps making... I'm on the wrong layer. Disney keeps making the mistake that everybody has figured out is a bad way to write, which is, in order to try and make us like the new characters, they try and make the old characters really stupid. And like they try and insult you for liking. They're like, oh, you like this old character. Look how lame he is. Don't you want to like this new character instead? And I was like, no! You're writing the character I like an idiot on purpose. So now I'm going to be error again. So now I'm going to be resentful towards the new character. Let me just give it a sec. If it doesn't come back, then I'm going to try and switch to data again and see if that helps. Just give it a sec. I mean, I can try and see if it works if I just turn off my Wi-Fi on my phone and go to data, because I don't think it does it automatically. Let me just check. Wi-Fi, please. We're loading. Yeah. We're loading. There we go. Okay, back. I'll just give it a sec and grab some Pepsi while I wait. I think the way that I've set it up here, it doesn't seem to want to go to mobile data, but if I turn the Wi-Fi on and off again, if I turn it on and off again, it fixes itself. Amazing. But yes, they do that thing where they try and insult, like make the old character stupid and bad because they think it'll make us like the new character. And it's like, no, it just makes me hate you, and it also makes me hate the new character. And the thing is, right, we all figured out that this is the worst way to write a character. And you know how we all figured this out? Because of Disney, because that's what they tried to do with their direct-to-DVD Disney movies, where they would make the characters from the original Disney movies really stupid and annoying. And guess what? Everybody hated that. And it's like, oh, you hate Ariel and Eric, don't you? Don't you like their daughter? Look how stupid Ariel and Eric are. Don't you like the daughter? It's like, no. And then they did that in The Lion King 2, where it's like, don't you like Kiara and Kovu? Look how controlling and stupid Simba is. It's like, no, I don't like these people. And you made Simba bad, so now I don't like anyone. Good job. This movie is just bad now. It's like, how do you keep making the same mistake over and over, Disney? I don't understand you. It's not even interesting mistakes. It's literally like the worst of all cases. I don't get it. I don't get how you can be this way. Doesn't help that the new characters are just badly photocopied versions of the older characters looking at you, Ray. That's the other thing. Like, they did that again in like The Lion King 2 and Little Mermaid 2. It's literally, watch this worse version of a character, learn all the same lessons as the original characters, but also the original characters are stupid now. And now they're doing the same thing with like the MCU. It's like, learn the exact same story with these new people who you don't care about. Also, the old people are either dead or bad. And it's like, wow, this movie, I don't care then. Everything about this movie sucks now. And then Disney's like, why aren't we making money? And it's like, I am just some pleb on the internet, right? I'm not some great writer. I'm not some great filmmaker. I am a very mediocre person. So why is it so glaringly obvious to me, and you with your billions of dollars and all your market research and all your advisors can't figure out something that literally every single teenager on Tumblr has figured out? I don't get it. Why are you so stupid? It's insane to me. But then I remember, right, some of the most interesting information a friend of mine ever told me, and this friend, they work in the film industry in Hollywood, but like on a lower level. They're not like involved in production. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to like accidentally just out them if that's not what they want. But they said to me something that they learned being on a movie set is this: the people in charge of making movies, the people in charge of making movies, like the heads of whatever it is, they are so busy running a business where they make movies that they don't have time to sit down and watch movies. And it's not like they're like, oh, I'm too good to sit down and watch the movie. It's not that. It's that they literally do not have hours in the day to do their job and then also watch movies to be able to figure out what a good movie is. They literally just don't have the years of life to be able to do that. And that's where a lot of problems arise. I found that Batman Beyond is a good example of bringing in a new character done correctly. Yeah, but like Batman Beyond is, even Batman himself is in Batman Beyond, and he's like a matured version of the characters. So you like Terry, but you also like Bruce. Even though Bruce is not Batman in that show, he still fills a role as a sort, you know, he's not, they didn't just take the character and made him stupid and called it a day. Like, Bruce himself is also an interesting character in Batman Beyond. So it creates this like symbiotic relationship with the new character. And because Bruce cares about the new character, then we ourselves also care about the new character because we like Bruce. So we want to understand why Bruce likes this person because we like Bruce. Again, it's so simple. It's so easy. I get it. It's harder to put into practice than it is just to like point out the problems as somebody who isn't busy writing the story. But again, if you're the person writing, I feel like I can point out the problem, and then you as a writer should be able to go, I see, how can we fix that? And then you use your expertise to then, you know, fix the problem. That's kind of how that works. Exactly. Bruce is still a good character, not a perfect Paragon either. He's a legacy character that Terry can learn from. Exactly. And he has an active role in the story. It's kind of like my problem with one of the newer Ninja Turtles shows, right, is when they turn Splinter into like the funny, kooky old man, and they just kind of disrespect Splinter. That is a major turnoff to me in a Ninja Turtles story, because it's kind of the same thing. You want to be able to have your older mentor character to be someone that's treated with respect. The Ninja Turtles is probably a weird thing to use as something to compare Batman to, but like, we know who Splinter is because we've seen the Ninja Turtles several times. So you kind of need to treat this character with respect, right? And there are certain Ninja Turtle stories where they just don't do that, and they just make him into like a joke. And because I like Splinter is a really good character, I don't want to watch that version of the Ninja Turtles then. Because they're treating a character I care about as trash because they think it's funny. And it's like, you can use a character, a mental character, and have him be funny without like making him a joke. Right? They had a crossover movie. I don't find it strange at all. You know what? That's true. I still need to watch the crossover, but again, I have been very salty about how the Ninja Turtles have been treated recently. As a die-hard fan of the 2003 show, I have a lot of opinions about modern Ninja Turtles. And even the 2003 show I have opinions about. It's very, very good until it stops being good, and then it's very bad. But those first 4 seasons was like peak cartoon television. It was so shockingly good that I'm like, I can't believe this was made by 4 kids in 2003. It's insane to me. I don't know if they were trying to like copy Avatar, like they saw how good Avatar was doing and they're like, oh, we should do something along those lines, so let's really lean into our show and give it like lore and consistency and long form storytelling and stakes. Maybe I'd have to look that up. But something happened where they just decided randomly to make the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon like one of the greatest things you've ever seen in your life in terms of American television. In terms of writing, the show looks so ugly, but the writing is so good. And then it became bad. And then they just never did that again. It's like, oh, okay. 2003 was before Avatar? Yeah, but like, it was. Sorry, I'm trying to think. I saw it in 2006. So yeah, when did Avatar like first air? 2005? Okay, no, then my timeline is off. I'm a little wacky there because Avatar didn't air on television here, so I only saw it when I was studying in Canada, which was in 2007 or 2006. So, and which is also the time I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003. So again, my timing is all screwed up there, but it's entirely my own fault. But that just makes it even weirder, doesn't it? Like, it's not even why is the Turtles show like this. It's like this because the comics are like this. But why did 4Kids decide to make a comic accurate Ninja Turtles show? It's so bizarre. Are you referring to Rise of TMNT or the Seth Rogen TMT movie? Yes. Yes. Did you gain appreciation for maple syrup in Canada? I did, but I was like way more into salmon. And to this day, I really miss how easily accessible and cheap salmon was in Canada. I miss that a lot. Maybe it's another example of the higher-ups not caring, so the makers were allowed to cook. You know what? That could be. That could be, especially because, again, it was 4Kids, and it was 2003 4Kids, and I don't know what the hell that channel was doing at that point in time. It was a very, very weird time, because Pokemon, it was still like a thing, but we were past the 90s Pokemon hype, which put 4Kids on the map, and like Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think that was around the time they started doing like One Piece, like the original One Piece dub, and that didn't go well for them. So it could be that they just did not care. So the people who made the TMNT cartoon could just do whatever the hell they want. And the TMNT cartoon, it looks terrible. I really dislike the way that show looks. The animation is so stiff. The character designs are so ugly. But the writing is so good that I don't care. It's like one of the only shows I've watched where I'm like, I don't care how bad this looks just because the writing is so good. Did I ever have poutine? I only had it once and I really disliked it. I was like, no, stop doing this. Cut it out. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was pretty big in that time. They were probably more focused on that. Yeah, it could be. Yu-Gi-Oh! See, again, it was a weird thing. It was in our country, but I think a lot of people in my country were confused because it wasn't Pokemon and it wasn't... Digimon wasn't really a thing here. Metabots was a thing here, but that might just be me. I love Metabots. To this day, I think Metabots is a much better show than Pokemon or Digimon. But Yu-Gi-Oh! I think my country was like too much into Magic the Gathering for Yu-Gi-Oh! To really take off. Like, the people who were into cards, like even teenagers and like 13-year-olds, they would get into Magic the Gathering way before they would get into Yu-Gi-Oh! So by the time Yu-Gi-Oh! Started showing up, the audience was kind of already playing Magic. And then you present Yu-Gi-Oh! With its weird rules, and everybody's like, this is very strange. So they just kept playing Magic the Gathering instead. Oh, and Beyblades. Did I ever try a Caesar in Canada? Yeah, I ate that basically every single day I was there because it was just a very easy lunch for me to grab. Did you see that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has been added to Raid Shadow Legends? I did not, but that's hilarious. It's so funny. I'm going to have to look into that. Is my music still playing? Let me just double check. Oh, it is. It's just about to loop. That's fine. Let me just make sure it loops properly. Okay, it loops properly. Yay! Okay. what would you change in the art style of the TMNT 2003 if you could? Make it good. Make it look like a Rise of TMNT. Make it look like that, and then have the good writing. Because everything is bad about the 2003 show. Let me actually bring up the character design so you can see. See, it looks fine when they're not moving, but the design is inherently bad for the kind of animation that they had the budget for, which is like TV animation in the early 2000s. Let me just copy this image and go back to chat. So it's not that the designs are bad, it's just, it's very, very difficult to animate smoothly because the characters are extremely bulky and the anatomy is a little bit too leaning towards realistic, which the second you make a character's anatomy more realistic, the harder they become to animate. That's why He-Man looks the way it does. He-Man looks the way it does for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons why the original He-Man looks the way it does is because it's so anatomically correct, and it makes characters a nightmare to try and animate. And in this case, I feel that there's a little bit too much definition in the anatomy for it to really translate well into a cartoon made for like Saturday mornings for kids, made in the early 2000s. It does not lend itself well to good animation, and as a result, a lot of the posing is very, very stiff, and there's not a lot of movement going on in the show. The expressions tend to be surprisingly good, despite the fact that they have like white eyes. Let me see if I can grab something else. You see I'll grab, oh, that's Facebook, so it's not going to be a good quality image. They try and get around like some of the, yeah, see, here we go. This is a good. So a lot of the show, when it comes to dialogue and things, a lot of it just has the characters kind of standing in default positions, which is a shame. And again, early 2000s, so it's got that like digipaint coloring going on, which I don't like. I find it very, very oversaturated. And I think the shadows look like they're done in black, which don't do that. Like the black shadows on the background is fine because they're obviously going for like the Mirage comic look, right? But to then have the shading on the characters also be done in black, but then have it at a lower opacity, it just makes the colors look muddy. It doesn't really pop. So it makes things look washed out. And then added with the rather stiff, like overly correct animation, and it's very, very tricky to get this kind of design to look good in the first place. And then again, you've got the other problems like the color and the shading and the everything. It's so nostalgic to you that I can understand, because yes, I get that. But even when I was watching it in like 2007 or so, I was like, wow, this looks bad. Oh, what was I doing? Oh, I was going to do his outlines. But again, I kept watching it because the writing was so good. I'd like to see a sequel to the original 80s TMT where they did like X-Men 97. And I see Shady Durag says Turtles Forever. Turtles Forever is really funny. My friend absolutely hated it because she did not like she didn't like the 80s Turtles in Turtles Forever because she just really disliked the 80s Turtles in general. And I know Phaelus hated it because he hated how it portrayed the 80s Turtles because he really likes the 80s Turtles. But as somebody who really likes the 2003 Turtles, I quite like Turtles Forever. I like that it joked about the original Mirage comics as well. That was very funny to me, where they made fun of just the overly serious tone of the comics, which the comics in themselves are supposed to be a parody. They're making fun of Frank Miller. Like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're trying to poke fun at Frank Miller and the way that Frank Miller writes dialogue and narration and things. That's what the original Turtles are. So in Turtles Forever, when the Mirage Turtles show up, they're like making fun of the thing that's making fun of Frank Miller. It's really good. I've never seen the TMNT anything in my life, so I plead the fifth. Watch the 2003 show if you can get past how ugly it is. Like the first 4 seasons. There are seasons after that, but they are not worth watching because they are genuinely awful. Just like, don't watch them. You're better off not watching them. I just don't like the Turtles in general. I don't know why. Dana, we can't be friends anymore. I love the Turtles. I've got my one of the very few Funko Pops I have, aside from Garrus Vakarian, is I've got a Michelangelo Funko Pop that's like signed by not Peter Laird. Give me a sec. I just want to go see, because I have his signature against my wall. Kevin Eastman. I've got my Michelangelo Funko Pop signed by Kevin Eastman. I've got a poster against the wall, which is just a big doodle that Kevin Eastman did for me at Comic-Con. I've got that against my wall. I've got an entire shelf of my bookcase that's just TMNT comics. No! Have you seen Coming Out of the Shelves? I've seen parts of it. And it is the exact kind of terrible that I really like. Because it's so bad. It's so bad. But again, it's the kind of awful where I'm like, I love this. I love this so much. It's like the Star Wars Holiday Special, which I've seen more times than I can possibly count. Because again, it's awful in a very specific way where I really enjoy it. If you want the best thing ever TMNT related, check out the game TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I heard that's very good. I just don't know whether I have the reflexes to play it because it's really difficult. I know that. It's quite difficult, and I'm not very good at like beat 'em ups or boss rushes or whatever you call them these days. Is Michelangelo my favorite turtle? Yes. Mikey is my favorite. I really like Raphael as well, but Mikey's my favorite. He's always been my favorite ever since I was like a kid. I did not see the Ninja Turtle movie 1 and 2. I saw the 3rd Ninja Turtle movie. That's the one I grew up with. The piece of trash one. That's the one that was like, that was my absolute favorite thing. Which also makes a lot of sense if you know me as a person. Because that's the one where they go into like Edo period Japan. That like they time travel to ancient Japan. Well, not ancient, but like Edo period Japan in the 1600s. And if you know that that's what I grew up with, it kind of answers a lot of questions, I think. Unsubscribed, Leonardo is best turtle. Leo is good. There's this great comic. Now I need to find it. I don't want to say what it is because it kills the joke. But it was like a comic from like the Rage comic days. Okay, I don't know where it is. It was like a TMNT comic drawn in like the Dolan style. And it's just like this horribly drawn Splinter saying, "Fuck you, Leonardo." So I whenever I see Leonardo's name, I'm like, that like mental stim of calling him Lemonardo or Mikunardo, which is also a thing. I was like heavy into the fandom back in the day as well. Let's see, is Mikunardo still alive? Can I find that? No, I just see Hatsune Miku. I don't actually see Mikunardo. That's sad. I've got Mikunardo on my laptop. I've got the fan art still. I have like all the fan art from 2012. Like from, was it? No, not 2012. I have fan art from like 2008 up until I think 2010. I've got like all of those saved from like people who don't even have online presences anymore. Is anyone gonna acknowledge Donatello's existence? That's the thing though, I like all of them. There isn't a turtle where I'm like, oh, I hate this turtle. They're the worst. No, I like all of them. Mikey's my favorite. And the reason I like Raphael a lot is because he's Mikey's best friend. That is the reason why I like Raphael, is because he's friends with Michelangelo. Of course, my favorite character in Ninja Turtles, by a country mile, is Usagi Yojimbo. Musashi Usagi is my favorite character, but he doesn't count because he's not from Ninja Turtles. He's from Usagi Yojimbo, which is like my favorite comic of all time, along with Bone by Jeff Smith, because Usagi Yojimbo is the GOAT. It's so good. April O'Neil is the worst turtle. The worst turtle is, what, Mona Lisa? Is that what she was called? I think that was her name. She was Mona Lisa, right? In the terrible Saban Turtles show, which was made by like the people who did the American dub of Power Rangers, and they made a live action Ninja Turtle show that was awful. And they had a female turtle called Mona Lisa or something. Venus de Milo. Was it Venus de Milo? Was it Venus de Milo? No, Mona Lisa was the weird lizard woman from the 80s cartoon. Venus de Milo is the turtle from the very, very bad live action show, who was like the only competent character in the entire show, ironically. Which is very funny because like Kevin Eastman can't stand that character. Yeah, you're thinking of Venus. Mona Lisa was from the original 80s cartoon. Yeah. Again, I stuck with the 2003 show and the comics and the movie. And that was kind of my thing. And Usagi Yojimbo, because it's like the best thing ever. We all know the best turtle is Gamera, friend to all children. You know what? That's true. There must be like a fan design of Gamera as a Ninja Turtle. Like, that's a thing that has to exist. Although you could argue that kind of exists, because I know in like the IDW comics, there's like a turtle called Spike, who's basically Gamera, but as a Ninja Turtle. I'm going way off topic. People who don't know Ninja Turtles have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. I just had a fantastic idea. Showdown of the Turtles. The Ninja Turtles versus Bowser and the Koopalings. Fictional turtles as Ninja Turtles. That needs to be a running meme. Someone draw Franklin. Franklin? We should do like... Because there's that thing where people will draw characters as My Little Ponies. Like, doesn't matter what fandom, there will be a My Little Pony fan art of it. People should do that. But as you say, with like turtle characters and just make them Ninja Turtles to some degree. I asked earlier, and I'm afraid I'm being annoying. No. What's your opinion on Mass Effect Paragon Lost? I watched that for the first time, I think last year? I think maybe a year before that. I didn't enjoy it, but it was bad in an interesting way, if that makes sense. It did not make me like James anymore. I'm not the biggest fan of James. I've grown to like him in time, but then James does things which annoy me, and then I'm like, James, I tried to like you, and now you're being annoying again. So I watched Paragon Lost, and it didn't make me like James any more than the game itself. Especially because James in the movie and James in the game are like two different characters. I thought that maybe Paragon Lost would give me more context for his character, but he is essentially a different character in the movie. They completely changed his personality. It's very strange. But one of my favorites... Yo, James ruined your Garrus romance. That was horrible. Where for some reason during the Leviathan DLC, when Dana was streaming it, the Leviathan DLC has some of the best Garrus Shepard romance moments in the whole game. And for some reason during Dana's stream, all the dialogue would prioritize James above Garrus. So all of Garrus's romantic lines were getting hijacked by James, who's not a romance option, just randomly talking garbage to Shepard. And Dana had to like restart the entire mission and like kick James out of the party and bring Edie instead, because James was just hijacking the entire thing. It was awful. Anyway, my favorite thing about Paragon Lost was watching that movie and just screaming throughout the entire thing, why is nobody using Metagel? Why? all of these problems that the characters are facing can be fixed if somebody brought Metagel. That was the one thing. And the other thing is, they had this bizarre story thing where people can't use their biotics unless they have like a battery. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? This movie was made after Mass Effect 1 and 2. We know how biotics work. What do you mean a battery? So it was a fascinating watch experience for those two reasons alone, where I didn't understand why nobody's using Metagel, and I don't understand what do you mean biotic needs a battery. That's not how biotics work. Biotics is like a biological process that some people are able to do. It's something you can do because you were exposed to element 0 in utero. What do you mean a battery? What are you talking about? Anyway, I have finished with Jax, but it's only been 2 hours and 20 minutes, so I think I can like do another smaller drawing in the meantime just to get us to 3 hours. Otherwise, I'm giving you guys too short to stream. Just save this. Save this here. There we go. And I don't want to work on this because I have to reference Dirge's outfit and it's a nightmare. I don't feel like bringing up my I don't want to open Blender and like look at the 3D model and like try and figure out his outfit. I don't feel like that pain right now. So we'll draw something else in the meantime. But yeah, Paragon Lost. I almost considered making a video on it just because I was so baffled, but I didn't think there was enough to talk about. Especially because it's so niche. And it would mostly be me screaming about like weird inconsistencies in the lore and like why did they do that when they had 2 games to reference. And I don't understand how these mistakes were made. Like basic lore things that were just wrong. Not even like misunderstood, just wrong. However, Paragon Lost did give us collectors and show us their wings, which is something I desperately wanted to see in Mass Effect 3. I wanted to see Javik pull out his insect wings because we know he has them, and he never does, probably because it would be too difficult to model. And I was just happy to see that in the movie in Paragon Lost because well, we do see that with the collectors in Mass Effect 2, but it was just better handled in Paragon Lost, and it was kind of what I wanted to see from like Javik in Mass Effect 3 at least once, and we don't see it, and I'm very angry about that. How awesome do you think a Mass Effect prequel game would be? It would be very difficult because it would have to be lower stakes than the trilogy, and it would have to be in a way where we can be invested in the story and characters even though we know how the story is going to end. Like, you can do a story about the First Contact War, but we know how the First Contact War ends. So you would need to do it in a way where the characters are what's more important than the events, because we know how this ends. It'd be very, very difficult. Robbie the Rabbit from Silent Hill, I mean, we can do that. Can you draw Haru Urara? Maybe I can try. That might take too much time though, because I don't want to go for like 5 hours. I'm like yelling and screaming at like 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Well, maybe I'll draw Urara next time. To draw Jenkins. Good thing we didn't know how the Titanic ended. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? What makes the Titanic interesting as a movie is it focuses on characters, and then the spectacle of trying to put you in the shoes of the people who experienced the sinking, which is ironically why I can't watch Titanic anymore. I used to be able to watch it, but as I've gotten older, it is so upsetting to me because it's a real event and it's quite a relatively accurate presentation of what the sinking would have been like to experience as somebody on the ship. And it like really upsets me to envision going through that I can't watch the movie anymore. It's weird, but there it is. Please draw Pomni. I mean, we did Pomni once, but we can draw a smaller Pomni. Like a quick Pomni, because she's quite simple as well. I think that war where they liberated the slaves with the help from merc gangs would be so metal. My thinking was always, they've kind of mixed it up with the extended ending. But before the extended ending for Mass Effect was released, I always thought that I would love to see a Mass Effect game where the goal of the game was the characters are trying to reunite the galaxy after the loss of the relays. Like them trying to get the relays back up and running. I always thought that would be a really interesting story to tell within the Mass Effect universe. But then the extended ending came along, and you can even see in the epilogue that the relays, I don't know if they got them running again or if they built their own, because they're set up even in the original Mass Effect, like the very first game. They kind of set up that people were already working towards building their own relays. They just hadn't figured it out completely yet. But I always figured that might be an interesting direction to take things in. I draw Kiki. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you in time. We're just going to draw a quick Pomni. Still to this day, I don't understand why people don't like Mass Effect's ending. But granted, I never saw the other endings other than the one I got. Yeah, that's like an entire conversation. Again, I am Mass Effect's biggest defender. I think the ending is good. I think the ending is very good. It's well written. It's well established. Like, it's very well set up. You can tell that that's the ending and that's where it's heading towards. And I am still convinced that a lot of people just didn't like it because they didn't get to be a big dick hero who punches the Star Child in the face and just wins the day. Like, they were upset that it didn't have a traditional, like, action hero ending. And I'm convinced that's a very large part of why a lot of people disliked it. I think it is a little bit more nuanced than that. I think there are bigger reasons, because again, I follow and I'm mutuals with a lot of people in the Mass Effect fandom. So I understand some people's hang-ups about the ending, but again, I feel a lot of it is just not being connected with the story that the game is trying to tell. Like, people wanted a far simpler, easier to digest story, and the game didn't give them that, and then they just disliked it because they couldn't punch the Star Child in the face. I thought it was more of a gameplay problem rather than a story one. That is true, and that is why I say with time I've kind of learned what I feel are a lot more valid complaints. A lot of people complained that they felt that their choices did not affect the ending enough. But I saw a counter argument to this, which I think is also very valid, where somebody said, but it doesn't make grand changes in the big climax of events, but the way that you play the game affects every single character's life and redirects the direction they go in as people. And that is a far more interesting way in which your character changes the world around them, rather than changing the outcome in very vast different ways. So I get the complaint, but I also feel like it's focusing on not the wrong thing, but perhaps just different things than I was focusing on. Whereas me, I felt that the narrative that the ending of the game presents is in perfect alignment with the themes of the game as a whole, as well as the story and narrative. Like, it just makes sense to me, and I really like the game. I really like the way that the game wrapped up its larger arcing plot. I don't want to give too much away. One day I want to get back to Mass Effect streams, and I don't want to spoil the games for anybody who hasn't played the trilogy, because you really should, because it's a fantastic story with amazing characters. But yeah, I understand that there's nuance to why people dislike the ending, but I do feel a lot of it was based on, oh, I didn't get to be a hero, and the ending is a lot more bittersweet than I wanted it to be, therefore it's bad. I legit cried at the end with the Garrus romance. Dude, I cried the first time I finished Mass Effect 3. I never cry at anything. I feel sad and like ruined, but I don't actively physically cry. I cried the first time I played Mass Effect 3, I don't cry at the ending anymore, but I do get like emotionally destroyed for like a solid week after I finish it. It like really wrecks me, and it wrecks me in a way where even thinking about it sometimes too hard. it like really destroys me. Did you ever play System Shocks? I have not, but I do have it in my library. I actually want to give the remake a go. I think with System Shock 2, I'll play the original, but with the first System Shock, I feel maybe it's just a little bit too unapproachable for me as somebody who doesn't play a lot of games like that, and who didn't play shooters and games of that style in the 90s. I was too busy playing like Morrowind. I was too busy playing Grandia and Pokemon and what was the other thing? Ratchet and Clank and things like that to play like PC games. So I'm interested in playing the remake, and I'll play the original for System Shock 2, because I know there's the remake for System Shock 2 that just came out, but I kind of really like the original vibe of System Shock 2, and I really enjoy Shodan's voice in the original System Shock, because she has like the perfect voice actor. It's so good. I see fellow artist. I click. Hey, I cried the ending of XCOM 2. I'm not super familiar with XCOM. Again, I think back in the day, I was very set in my ways in the genres of games I played. Whereas as I've gotten older, I've become much more willing to try genres I would have never tried in the past. Because at some point in time, and it might have been Mass Effect, where I just did not play shooters, but I wanted to experience Mass Effect's story, so I just learned how to play shooters just so I could play Mass Effect. And that's kind of how I've tried to be moving forward. Like, if I know a game has a good story or atmosphere, I will do my best to learn its mechanics, just so that I can try it, even if it's a game completely out of my genre. And I'm not always good at it. Sometimes I'm very, very bad. But I'd like give it a shot. I was, and to a degree still am, big in the Undertale fandom, and I am very bad at Undertale because I suck at bullet hells. Like, bullet hells and like rhythm games are probably the games I'm the worst at. Ever played Jedi Fallen Order? I have not. I'm not super big into Star Wars games. However, I do want to play the KOTOR games. I think I recently got them on sale. I bought so many games recently. It's a little ridiculous. I had to stop myself from buying Yakuza 0 because I have it for PS4 and it's on sale at the moment. And I wanted to get it because I play PC a lot more these days. And I was like, you just bought Red Dead Redemption 2, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Death Stranding, The Outer Wilds, the Halo trilogy, Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, and a bunch of other games. Don't buy Yakuza 0. You've got enough to go through. I don't know what time you plan to have where you can watch all of these things. That's why I stream so much. I play games that I wouldn't normally play. Like, you can tell Subnautica is not my type of game, but I'm having fun figuring it out. Yeah. And I do admit that there are some games that I just don't have the patience for that I probably would really like if I just spent a little bit more time on them. But that's why what am I drawing with this hand? I really enjoy watching YouTubers like Mandalore Gaming. Because Mandalore Gaming's taste in games is so different to mine, but the way he talks about them makes me want to try them just based on how he talks about the things he likes. Because I'm like, that sounds like something I would also like if I gave it a chance. So I got like Homeworld 1 and 2. I might have the third one as well. I can't remember. I don't have GOG set up in this machine. I need to log into my email to get it set up properly. And I would have never given Homeworld a try. But I'm willing to give it a shot just because of the way that he described it. And it just sounded so interesting to me. Like that. There we go. Is Pomni or Evil Pomni? Just normal Pomni? I still need to catch up with the show because I'm kind of waiting for all the episodes to get released before I sit down and watch the whole thing. Because I want to watch it as like one solid I don't want to say project, that makes it sound very cynical, but you know what I mean. I want to watch it as like a singular experience. So I'm a little behind on things. We finished Jax? Yes, we did. And I did it a little quickly, so I just wanted to like draw something else while I yell about whatever topic comes to mind. Culture 1 always felt like a worse proto-vision of what BioWare ended up doing with Mass Effect. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I got from the little bit I've played so far. But I'm still willing to give it a chance and like check it out and see if I enjoy it. Because yeah, Mass Effect is basically BioWare taking what they learned from KOTOR and being like, okay, now let's kind of do our own thing. And also add a lot of Star Trek as well. And Mass Effect was the result. Yell about whatever comes to mind, mostly TMNT and Mass Effect, as well as the Great White Silence. That's the other thing I keep talking about. Because I want to watch it, but I'm very scared to. Because it's going to make me super emotional and upset. But I want to see it. Because I've been meaning to watch it for years, like literal years. And now there's like a brand new restoration of it. And somebody uploaded it to YouTube. So I have like no reason not to watch it, aside from the fact that I'm going to be very, very, very sad when I watch it. And I don't always want to be very, very, very sad. Welcome to Seep of Stream, drawing and yelling. Yeah, pretty much. It's what I do best. I do want to get better at script writing. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know who I was watching. Maybe it was Zeni yelling about the Isle, which is an amazing video. I highly recommend it. It's so good. Me and Dana, who's a mod in chat, I think it was more Dana than me, but we came up with this concept called evil autism. Now, what evil autism is when you get like extremely obsessed with a thing, whether it's a TV show or a game or a comic book, right? And you are honestly like into it. Like you would call yourself a fan. But then the show or game or whatever does something that makes you so angry and you completely lose your shit at how bad the direction was. But because you've invested so much time into it, you, for the life of yourself, cannot pull yourself away from it. So instead, you start hyper-focusing on this thing and it becomes like your special interest. And you become like hyper knowledgeable about it and you learn so much about it. You're like the expert on this topic because you cannot divorce yourself from it. It's like a toxic relationship that you can't get away from. And then you make like a 5-hour YouTube video just ranting about it. And it's not the same. It's not like me ranting about Velma because I just Velma's just a terrible show. Like Zeni, he made the video about the Isle. And the reason he made that video, it's called The Isle is the worst early access game and I can prove it. The reason he made that video is because he's been playing that game for like 9 years. And he can't stop playing it, even though it's terrible and it makes his life a living hell. He can't stop playing it because he's just so involved with it and everything that goes into making it. So that's evil autism. It's like when you get the hyperfixation, but it's not like joy or love. It's like this deep involvement where, you know what it is? It's this meme. Here, hold on. It's exactly this. Let me see if I can find it quickly because I don't want to waste. Yeah, here we go. Wait for it to load. Copy image. Go back to chat. It's this. Oh. It's this. That's evil autism. Like that is what evil autism is. So so that's what me and Dana have decided to call it. But I want it to stop becoming a term because I see it so often and I know exactly it's not the same as hating something and just like wanting to tear it apart and becoming devoted to ruining it. It's not that. It's a very, very, very specific level of hyperfixation, where you just can't stand it, but to anyone else, you look like a fan. And you're like, no, I hate it. It's like, but why do you have like merchandise for it? And why do you talk about it? And why do you write fanfic and draw fan art for it? It's like, you don't understand. So yes, that's what evil autism is. And Zenny's video on the aisle is like a prime example of evil autism. That and Skitty Bitty's video on Tears of the Kingdom. That's another video I would classify as like an evil autism video. I don't know if I'm autistic, at least I'm not like diagnosed, but it wouldn't surprise me if I turned out to be. I'm not. I was tested. Turns out I'm just extremely ADHD, but I don't have the autism. But I feel there's enough overlap where I can sometimes make a joke or two because I understand the emotion, even if it's not a diagnosis I actively have, if that makes sense, right? Yeah, this describes my relationship with League of Legends. I think that describes everybody's relationship with League of Legends. Every single person I've heard play League of Legends has that relationship with it. I was I think a year ago, so Bao was showing her sister VTubers, and her sister had to guess what kind of person they were. And there was one VTuber that Bao showed her, and the sister said, I think she's a very different person when she plays League. And Bao said, I think we are all very different people when we play League. Guess he's back from the void. Hey, Goofus, destroyer of worlds. Also, you're drawing one of my favorite TADC characters. Hope you're enjoying your day. Puff of the Sea. Yeah, I drew Jax, but because he's very simplistic to draw, I decided to just draw Pomni as well. Otherwise, the stream would only be like 2 hours long, which is a little short. I'm not proud of the things I've said while playing League. She has eyebrows, right? Does she have eyebrows? I think she does. Let me just have a look. She does, kind of. Oh wait, I just remembered something of her design. Okay, yeah, she does have eyebrows. I got this wrong. Her eyelashes are actually, they're up on the one eye and they're down on the other eye. I remember that quite clearly because I always thought that was a very interesting part of her design. She has eyebrows that appear, I think. So she's gonna have the cartoony eyebrows that just kind of come off of her face. Do that. There we go. She looks a bit like Knights, the way I've drawn her hat. She's doing like the Zoinks Shaggy pose. I'm ashamed of the things I said while playing Halo Reach on Xbox Live back in the day. Yeah, again, I've got the Halo trilogy. I never played it because Xbox isn't really a thing in my country. But I've got it on Steam now, so I want to give it a try. Not so much the live aspect, like the multiplayer aspect, but I want to give the story a go. I became more interested in it after I watched Mandalore Gaming's video on Marathon, which Mandalore's series of videos on Marathon are like some of my favorite videos about video game story I've ever watched. I love the way he structured those videos and talked about the plot. It made it so interesting. And again, it made me interested in being like, okay, you know what? I will give Halo a try. Also, after I learned that the concept of the ring world is based on like a classic sci-fi novel, that's also kind of what piqued my interest a little more. If you stream Mass Effect again, will you just start an entire new playthrough or continue from your old streams? I'm not sure. I was actually going to ask the audience whether we should restart, because it's been like well over a year since I started that game, and we're only on the first game, so it wouldn't be that much lost if I just restarted, or if we should continue. I'm kind of leaning more to maybe starting over, but I'll see how people feel. One thing that I would just have to check is I had to check with my ISP because our connection has really been shitty the past month, and it's not just us. Like if you look at the down detector, our internet has been very, very bad for like multiple people. So I just want to find out what the hell's going on before I attempt to like stream a video game. Kind of leaning towards restart. Yeah, like I said, I'll think about it, but I think that might be better. I want to live to see the ending. Continue. If restart, it'll take 6 years to get back to where we were. I mean, that's also true. What I was also thinking of doing is like maybe, I don't know, like a PowerPoint presentation of like previously on the Mass Effect streams, just to kind of catch people up on what was happening narrative-wise. So that was my third option I was thinking. Because I know we're on, what's the planet called? I'm usually good with the planet names. Sorry. Connection dropped while I check this planet name. Mass Effect Outpost 17. What is this planet called? Unless, is it Outpost? I'm not sure if it's Outpost 17. It's something 17. Do it in the style of Mass Effect 3 interactive comic. Do you know how long that'll take me? You're 6 parts in that are around 4 hours long each. I personally vote to continue. You know what? That's a good point. What is Mass Effect 1 locations? Maybe that'll help. Because now I need to know what the hell this planet was called. I know which mission it is, but the planet name is Galaxy Map, Planets and Locations. I don't think it's Pharos. It's not Ilos. Oh, it's Noveria. It's Noveria. So I think it's Noveria. Here's what you should do in that regard. Instead of making a PowerPoint previously on Mass Effect, place the whole past stream sped up to 9 seconds, and now the continuation. You know what? That's a very good idea. Maybe I should just do that, because that sounds really funny. Story, science fiction stories about visitors coming down to Earth from other planets. Get out of town. I didn't know you did anything creative. Do you believe in hate watching / playing? A lot of people think it's bad. When people engage with bad projects, regardless if it's positive or negative, it can lead to bad standards. I don't know, because at what point is hate watching just research? Because you got to ask yourself that. Like, at what point is hate watching just doing research? Although I know a lot of people don't look at it that way, I suppose. But like, I've watched, I want to say I watched a lot of bad things, but I do find that I don't really watch corporate products because there's just nothing that I can get from them. It's a bad corporate product. What a shock, you know? And the beautiful thing about VODs is that people can rewatch them. Also, you have the cut versions. You know what? That's also true. I kind of forgot that. So yeah, maybe it's better to then just start from where I was. I might have to, maybe I'd have to play up to that part though, because the laptop I was streaming from died. So I'll see. But yeah, maybe just, like, it wouldn't take too long for me to play up to Noveria. One of my favorite bad movies is from South Africa. It's this demented horror movie from the 80s called Hellgate. It has Horseshack from Welcome Back Kotter. I've never heard of that. Which probably says a lot. Harvest the drive. The drive died. That's the part of the laptop that at first the drive died and then everything else died. I'd rather hate watch than hate something I haven't watched. That's also true. But like I was saying, I don't have the interest to like watch the new Marvel movie, right? Like even just to quote unquote hate watch, I genuinely don't care enough to hate watch it, because I have complete indifference to those movies. I feel even if you hate watch something, it has to come from some level of interest. Because you could say that what EFAP does is hate watch things. But see, with EFAP, they're doing it because they talk about it on their podcast. So you could say, oh, well, that's what their channel is built on, so they have to watch it because that's what their podcast is. And they don't watch it because it's bad, they watch it because it's Marvel or because it's Star Wars. If it was good, they would watch it too. But then you also have to be like, okay, but if you hate watch something, you have to care about it to some extent to want to spend time watching it. But you know, I've never played Mass Effect Andromeda, despite the fact that I adore Mass Effect. And Andromeda, from what I've heard, isn't terrible, but it's just kind of mediocre, which is very bad when it's coming off the heels of the original. So I have not played it because I don't really want to engage with something that's a worse version of the thing I like. So again, my response to like really, really bad media is just the cold, unfeeling ice of my indifference and apathy. I found that's the best way to deal with things that I hate. And if I like really, really, really hate it, is just ignoring it, refusing to acknowledge its existence, because there is no worse scorn that you can give something than to just dismiss it and never ever engage or acknowledge it and just kind of move on. And in like 5 years, when you're talking to somebody, you'll be like, oh yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it? Anyway, never saw it. Which is also like why I've never watched the live action Little Mermaid. Same reason, right? It's like, why would I watch that? And we're at the point now where nobody really talks about the live action Little Mermaid anymore. It really is at the point of like, oh yeah, they did make that, didn't they? As the great Megatron once said, duly noted and ignored. I've seen some good movies from South Africa, like Sarafina, The Zulu on My Stoop, The Gods Must Be Crazy. The Gods Must Be Crazy is like the big one. That's the one like most people are aware of. I haven't watched it since I was a kid. I think it's good? Question mark? I'm not sure. Questionable how it portrays the Khoisan people. But aside from that, not too sure. I think it tries to be like a Home Alone ripoff at one point, if I remember correctly. Sarafina is kind of a weird thing, because I don't know whether it really counts as a South African movie. It is, but it also isn't. It's like starring Whoopi Goldberg and things, so it's like, okay, well, how South African is this, right? South African movie we get here in the States go by the name Elon Musk. Terrible cinema. I was going to ask about Invictus, but then I remembered it was directed by Clint Eastwood, though I do love that movie. It was so dang good. I need to watch Invictus. I might really like that movie, not because it's South African, but because I really enjoy sports stories, not fictional sports stories. I really, really enjoy movies and documentaries about sport. And I often joke, I like everything about sport aside from the actual playing of the sport. As I was saying, before the stream, I was watching the Netflix documentary on the Red Sox because I'm genuinely interested in that kind of thing. So when Invictus came out, I didn't watch it because I'm like, well, it's about rugby. I don't care about rugby. But now that I'm older, I'm like, that might be really, really good because it's a sports movie about rugby and about our little team that hired an amazing coach and managed to make us win. Like that is everything I would love in a sports story. The only thing that might be difficult is I find it extremely embarrassing, like secondhand embarrassment, when America makes movies about Africa. Like, it is, I cringe so hard most of the time. Like, it is so secondhand embarrassment from like, just like how no it is. I get the same feeling whenever an anime tries to portray an American character. And I'm like, oh no, please don't do this. I can't handle it. Like, that's how I feel when Africa is portrayed in an American movie, except when it's a movie that like does the stereotype to such a comical degree that it doesn't even reflect reality anymore. Like George of the Jungle. I mean, how the hell am I supposed to get angry at George of the Jungle? That's not a real country. The Africa in George of the Jungle is not a real place. And similar to like Ace Ventura, like the second Ace Ventura, it's like, I can't get angry at that movie. It takes place in a fictional universe. That's not what Africa is. I don't know what country that is. So when it's like that, it's fine. But when America tries to portray Africa more seriously, it's like, oh no, please don't. Many burgers, yeehaw. That's exactly how it is. It's like the Nyan Neko Sugar Girls American dub. No, the Japanese dub. Where, why can't I remember his name? Satoshi. Where Satoshi comes downstairs and he goes up to his breakfast table and he goes, hamburger sandwich to Coca-Cola. Like, that is the way that anime portrays American characters. A big meme is that Americans love how anime portrays it. Oh no, I bet. But me as somebody who's not from either country is like, oh no, this is just bad. This is bad and embarrassing. I love how almost no one in the second Ace Ventura comes out looking good. Yeah. The thing is, right, the first Ace Ventura is almost an okay movie. Oh, I'm still getting an error. Whatever. I seem to be online, so it's fine. The first Ace Ventura is almost a okay movie, and then it gets shockingly transphobic in its finale. Like, that movie has not aged well at all. It's like so bad. In a way where I'm not like, this appalling movie has really like insulted trans people. It's like, no, it's so bad, you can't even be insulted by it. It's just like, oof. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's rough. No, oh, no. You know, it's a level of bad where it becomes cartoonish in how bad it is, and you're like, oh yeah, oh no, no, oh no. I mean, I felt that way about how Canada gets portrayed, but I usually just think it's funny. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know why. It's not like I'm insulted when America portrays Africa. I think they get it so wrong. When they get it so wrong, but they think they're being accurate. Like, that's when it gets to me. It's also why I can't watch something like Black Panther, because like the fake African accents in that movie, I've seen clips at least, they make me cringe in my seat because the accents are so bad. It's bad. It's so bad. And I get so embarrassed and I can't handle it. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. I'll watch something else. It reminds me how bad J.K. Rowling is at portraying American society. Yeah, I guess so. Because like when Japan does Americans or American society, it makes me cringe, but it's also at least to a cartoonish degree. Because the Americans in anime is always like cowboys. Like they think all Americans are from Texas. And they think all Americans have like blonde hair and blue eyes. I guess because it's just the easiest way in anime to signal to the audience that this is a foreigner. But American characters, they almost always have blue hair. Well, they have blue eyes and blonde hair. They are from Texas. They wear cowboy outfits and cowboy boots. And they carry guns. And if it's a girl, her chest size is like 5 times bigger than the other characters, depending on the anime. And it's like, okay, sure. Okay, when David Cage does American culture, I just cringe. Yeah, that's like an entire subject in itself, is weird Europeans who think they're making high art about American social issues. Because there's David Cage, there's the people who made Life is Strange, and there's Dustborn. Like that entire subgenre is really, 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 really painful. It overlaps a lot with Minnesota in particular. Black Panther was weirdly huge in my side of Africa. We were so proud. Really? I don't know if it was really big here. Superhero films aren't that popular here, really. Like, not in the way I think it is in America, at least. Like, people will watch them because they're big action movies, but it's not like it has this massive fandom. It does, but it's like a really, it's like niche. Like, to be a Marvel fan in my country is like a niche thing. Like, it's a movie that some people watch, but to be like a hardcore fan, it's like, no, people don't really do that. So, like, Black Panther, I don't think it was really a big deal here at all. I think people watched it, and I think there were certain people in my country who tried to make it a big thing, and like said that we had to support it, etc., blah, blah, blah. But I don't really recall it making that much of a splash. The Lion King, on the other hand, the original, if you were in a country in Africa when the animated Lion King came out, that movie stuck around for like 6 years, I swear. As it should, it's a great movie, but you know, like, my country ate that movie up. I shouldn't say anything about accents though. I'm from Long Island. And when I get passionate, the Long Island medium in me gets out. That's one thing, right? I'm watching this Red Sox documentary, and I'm having a really good time hearing the extremely thick Boston accents from like the fans and some of the people involved. But oftentimes the fans, I'm having a very good time. And I'm like, I really hope that America manages to like keep those accents in existence. I don't want the American accent to become too homogenized. I really enjoy like the very strong regional accents, and I really hope those remain intact because they're very good. I get it, the animated Lion King made Africa look beautiful. Yeah, and like when they were doing pre-production for the Lion King, they went to, I think it was Kenya. They went to Kenya and they did like on-site art reference, like concept art and things. So a lot of the Lion King is extremely accurate to what it looks like. Even though with Kenya, it's very far away from where I live, but a lot of it is quite accurate to the visuals, like how the colors look, how the light works. And there's animal sounds and bird sounds in the Lion King that I can hear like just from my garden. There's a lot of like background noise that they obviously recorded on location when they were in Kenya, because a lot of those animals, specifically birds, I just hear in my everyday life. Like, it's really, really well done. Oh god, I saw a billboard for Teresa Caputo making an appearance in my city. I'm not sure who that is, but that doesn't mean anything because I never know who anyone is. I know who like a few metal artists are, and that's about it. I was talking to my friend Tina's, his sister is really into Chappelle Rowan, and I said to him, my measurement for pop stars is Taylor Swift is Taylor Swift, Chappelle Rowan is not Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish is the Barbie movie one, and everyone else is everyone else. And that is as far as my understanding of pop music and celebrity goes. It's interesting to me you like Northeast accents so much. As someone from the Northeast, we kind of mock them. I think because they are so distinct. And I think it's because most American media historically comes from the West Coast. Hollywood, yes, but the West Coast in general. So you don't really hear those more distinct American accents. So the only accent you get exposed to as a non-American is the West Coast accent, specifically the Los Angeles one. So when you hear the different regional accents, it's like really enjoyable because they are so different and so distinct, and there's so much character to them that you're just not used to hearing in like generic American content, I guess is the best way to put it. It's kind of like how the majority of anime you hear is the Tokyo accent. And yes, they'll throw in like the token Osaka character, and the sometimes you'll get the token Hokkaido character, but for the most part, all anime just sounds like the speakers in Tokyo, and that's it. That's kind of how American media is, right? You just kind of hear LA, unless it's like specific to a region. Like The Sopranos is very, very, very much Staten Island. And what else? What's the other thing? There's like one or two shows, but they like specifically take place very, very much in a very specific location. And even then, you're not always guaranteed to get that location's accent. Like I said, I really like The Breakfast Club. I don't know if any of the characters in The Breakfast Club have a Midwest accent whatsoever. They kind of all just sound like they're from Los Angeles, even though that movie takes place in like Chicago. The LA one has the weird raise at the end of their sentences, and all their sentences sound like a question. No, not really, hey. That's mainly like a very, very specific subset of people. Because when I go to LA, that's not what people sound like there. At least not the people I hang out with. They just sound like normal Americans to me. And no one likes Staten Island. Not even Staten Island likes Staten Island. Does Vinny like Staten Island? Because he lives there. I don't know whether like is the right word, though. I think Vinny will joke about New York City because he's from Staten Island, but that doesn't mean he's like a fan of Staten Island, if that makes sense. People tell me I have a Midwestern accent, but I don't know what a Midwestern accent sounds like. I would say it sounds like the guys on Red Letter Media when they get very drunk. When they're sober, they just sound like normal Americans for the most part. Sometimes there will be a bit of a Midwest in their accent, but when they start drinking, talking about the movie, their accents become very, very heavy. Like, that to me is the Midwestern accent. I base it on Red Letter Media. Brooklyn is the best borough. Like I'm saying, I'm really enjoying like the Boston documentary because I'm really enjoying the Boston accent. I remember a few years ago, I was listening to Last Podcast on the Left, and they were talking about the Son of Sam shooting spree, and they were using like news footage where people were getting interviewed in the streets of New York, and the guys who were running the podcast were saying it's so great hearing all the extremely strong accents in the news footage. Like, I don't know, it's not the Bronx. What is it? It's the Italian side of New York. I'm not super knowledgeable about the finer details of New York, but like the Italian side of it, which I don't think is the Bronx. It might be. I'm not sure. No, it would be the Bronx. Yes, it would, because Harlem. I'm getting Harlem and the Bronx confused. I was about to say. Now, Harlem is what I'm thinking in terms of like the jazz movement and the black community. The Bronx is the Italian community, and I think the Jewish community, if I remember correctly. Queens? Maybe. It could be Queens, but I don't think it's Queens specifically. I think it's the Bronx. Because like I said, I'm trying to like think about the dispersal of the immigrants that came in the early 1900s, and like which sections of the city they were delegated to. Because again, I was researching this when I was talking about the 1913 cartoons. I was looking up a lot on the history of New York, because a lot of what people consider like the 1930s Fleischer cartoon style is born from New York, of that time period of the late 20s and early 30s, which is heavily influenced by the immigrant population, which came in the early 1900s. And I was like reading up about the dispersal and the different communities that spawned out of the neighborhoods they were delegated into living. Because the Fleischers, I believe, Fleischer, so they were in the Jewish community. Anyway, this is the kind of shit I do when I like talk about cartoons. That's why I'm intimidated talking about The Little Mermaid. Because then I start watching things like Gold Diggers of 1933 or like Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, because I offhandedly mention it once in a video. And I'm like, I can't mention this if I haven't watched it. That's a big problem I have. Bless the Jews for giving me bagels. About half of Queen's residents here are foreign born. Really, in the modern day, or do you mean like just like heritage-wise? Heritage-wise. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. This has been a public service announcement. Something I'd like to add to the whole accent thing. Most Canadians do not say a boot. That's the East Coast / Maritimes. Pretty much everywhere else sounds almost indistinguishable from Americans. There is a slight difference, because I was in Vancouver, right? There is a slight difference between the Americans in terms of how the vowels are said, but they don't say a boot. What they do say a lot is a at the end of a sentence, kind of like how in both South Africa and Japan, because we both got it from the Dutch, we will say ne at the end of a sentence to kind of like ask for clarification or agreement by the party we're speaking to. Like Canada does that, but they say it with a instead of ne. So they do that a lot in Vancouver, I found. So there's a slight difference in accent, but it's very, very, very small. I forgot we were drawing something. Your body is blocking the clock in the bottom right. Oh, I don't think the clock moves. I think it's just a PNG. It doesn't actually move. It's just an overlay. I wondered whether I could get it to like sync up with real time, but nah. And then I was like, this is too much effort. It's fine. Hey, I was in Vancouver just 2 days ago. That makes two of us, CPuff. Yeah, I'd like to go back to Vancouver. I really enjoyed my time there. There are parts of Vancouver that's a little insane, but I just enjoyed living there for a short time. The only thing I didn't like about it was the weather, which sounds like a petty complaint until you realize that when I say it rains 9 months of the year, I mean it literally rains for 9 months of the year. You do not see the sun for the entirety of 9 months. And the first time the sun comes out in the early spring, you go outside in a t-shirt. It doesn't matter if it's 10 degrees Celsius outside. You are just so desperate for it not to be raining that you will go out to expose as much sun as possible. Is there a Disney animated movie you hope never gets a sequel? That's a tough one. I know, like, just gut instinct, I know there is, but I'm trying to think. Because, like, a lot of them did get sequels in the early 2000s. That's the thing. Let me think. Maybe, would one say Treasure Planet? I don't think Treasure Planet would benefit from a sequel in any way, shape, or form. But you could argue, well, we would get more Treasure Planet, so I mean, is that really a bad thing? That might be one where I'm like, no, leave it alone. It's perfect as it is. Dana also says Treasure Planet. It's rough because, like, I would say The Lion King, but Lion King 2 exists. The Lion King 2 is really bad. It's not the worst Disney sequel, and it's not like horrendous, but it's not good. It's not good, you guys. I'm very sorry to the people who loved Kiara and Kovu. It's not a good movie. It's really bad, actually. But Lion King 1.5 is like one of my favorite things ever. I don't know whether I would call it good, but it's basically my personality in film form. So I adore that thing exists just because It's such a troll, and I really, really enjoy it. And like I said, Return to Neverland, I think, is a better movie than Peter Pan. And Cinderella 3 is probably the best sequel that Disney's ever made. It's genuinely fantastic. Little Mermaid 2 is a piece of garbage, and I hate it. Little Mermaid 3 is kind of a nothing movie. It's got good ideas, but, I mean, it's fine. It's a fanfic, and it's fine. Fox and the Hound is a thing that exists, but after rewatching the original Fox and the Hound, I'm like, wow, this movie is not as good as people were saying it was. Like, I remember people really hyping this movie up, and I had seen it before, but it had been years. And I watched it, and I'm like, this movie is kind of broken from its foundation. Like, from a writing standpoint, it kind of doesn't make sense. But I don't, like, for that reason, maybe you could do a sequel with it, but then what would you do with it? Like, anything you could do with Fox and the Hound could just come across as like a betrayal of the original, even though the original wasn't really that good. Atlantis: The Lost Empire could actually really do with a sequel. Like, I think you could make a really good sequel out of Atlantis: The Lost Empire. And I say this because Atlantis is basically the Disney version of Stargate. Like, straight up, it is just Stargate to some degree. What about series? It depends, right? A series would just be like a different format, but you could still do a story regardless if it's a movie or a series, right? Most people consider The Lion King 2 to be the best of the Disney DVD sequels. They are wrong. They are not correct. Snow White? No, because I think Snow White is so self-contained. And I think it ends exactly the way it needs to. And I don't think you really need to move beyond the happily ever after of Snow White. But Snow White is a movie I have a lot of complicated feelings about. Again, I've considered, and I don't know whether I will, because I don't know whether I can add anything to the conversation. But I've considered making a video comparing the original Snow White and just the bullshit Walt had to go through to make that film to the remake. And like cutting back and forth between the two movies throughout the video. But I don't know whether I'll make that because I don't know whether I can like add anything to the conversation regarding Snow White. There's been so many videos and documentaries made about it. There's not much I can add, really, that you can't get just from watching a more polished production. But my point is, I don't think Snow White is geared for a sequel. I think it's fine as it is because it is so archetypal of what a fairy tale is. And trying to give it a sequel just kind of defeats the point in which it was made. It wasn't made for sequel purposes. It was made to be a literal fairy tale in like a Grimm's fairy tale type of way, right? Back, have you missed anything? Not much. We're talking about Disney sequels still. The movie, I think, was adapted into like 2 books. They tried to make an Atlantis TV show, but that pilot never hit the ground and they turned it into a mediocre sequel. Yeah, but like that sequel TV show / movie thing, I think was flawed with what it was trying to do. Because the thing is, right, Atlantis is the bastard love child of Stargate and Hellboy. Or rather not Hellboy, but the BPRD. Like Mike Mignola in general, which is why it looks like that. It's based on Mike Mignola's art style. So I don't think trying to make like a funny, happy adventure story with Atlantis would work. You would have to lean more into the Mike Mignola way of storytelling to make a sequel, or at least that's what I would do. Maybe just because I like Mike Mignola's storytelling, but I feel like leading into that direction would be more fruitful than just trying to turn it into like a generic fantasy, like fun time sci-fi show, you know what I mean? Bolt might do with the sequel, but because Bolt like resolved the main problem of the story, they would have to invent a brand new problem for the second movie to be about, which might be difficult because they would have to like invent a problem. Alice in Wonderland could have done well with sequels. There was already so much more in the books they could have adapted. Yeah, that's true. Like, they could have done Through the Looking Glass. That might have worked. but I'm also not entirely sure because I also don't think the Alice in Wonderland that we got was a very well realized version of the book. Okay, but what sequels are better than the originals? There's like the stock answers. There's Godfather 2, which I don't know whether I'd personally say Godfather 2 is better than the first one. I suppose it depends though. My extremely hot take is that the movie 2010 is better than 2001: A Space Odyssey. Even though 2001: A Space Odyssey is the better artistic achievement, 2010 is a better movie. And I will stand by that. And I will get thrown out of film school for it, even though I never went. I went to animation college, whatever. But 2010 is a better movie. It is a better realized product, and it's a better realized story than 2001 is. And I'm very sorry, but I will die on that hill. Dana is saying Shrek 2. I agree. Shrek 2 is much better than the first Shrek. The first Shrek, I remember watching that in theaters, right? And everybody was talking about Shrek and they were raving about Shrek. And then I watched it in theaters and I remember being very disappointed by it. And I was like, really? This is what everybody's freaking out about? It's not bad, but it's just kind of okay. Like, I don't understand the hype. So I was very disappointed by it. But then when Shrek 2 came out, my expectations were very low because of the first Shrek. So Shrek 2 blew them out of the water. But yeah, Shrek 2, that's an easy answer. What else? What other movie? Like I said, 2010 is always my hot take because, yeah. I refuse to elaborate. It just is. Aside from that, though, I'm trying to think what else. It's one of those problems where somebody asks you, what's your favorite movie? And you're like, oh no, I've never seen a movie before when you try and think about it. I have to head out. A reminder, I love the art style and color scheme of your channel. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out, Shady Durags. I really appreciate it. And, thanks for the support. It's really cool of you. And I'm just happy you'd hang out a little bit. Toy Story 2? Toy Story 2 might be, but I don't know whether Toy Story, the first one, is necessarily quote unquote bad enough to be considered lesser than Toy Story 2, if that makes sense. Like, Toy Story on its own is a really good movie. And Toy Story 2 has a lot more moving parts, but I don't know whether the core of the first Toy Story isn't just so good on its own that the sequel doesn't really take away from it. I do think that Woody's character is much better in the second Toy Story. In the first Toy Story, he's still kind of a dick because he has a little bit of his personality from the original version of Toy Story, which never got made, where he was a lot meaner than he ended up being in the final product. But I feel Toy Story is just kind of very good on its own. There's also Terrifier 2. Oh, you know what movie is better than the original? Gremlins 2. Gremlins 2 is like one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I watched it for the first time in like a group chat. And I was like, why did nobody tell me about this movie? Even though I was well aware of this movie. I just did not know it was as good as it was. That movie is incredible. It's so good. But again, it was basically tailor-made for me in a laboratory. It was impossible for me not to like that movie. It was basically made for me. I always insert that clip from Clerks, like, I don't watch movies. Have you ever heard anything about either one of these? Oh, they suck. Yeah, basically, that's exactly how it is. Speaking of Clerks, that's another better sequel. I never watched Clerks because, again, it's just not a film style that I'm really into. I saw Mallrats not too long ago, and I must say I wasn't really into it. Like, I didn't really enjoy it, and not because I think the movie is bad. I just genuinely think it's not for me. Like, I get the humor style, but it's just not up my alley. It's not for me. My sense of humor is way too bad for me to enjoy Clerks. Should probably try Dogma. I will try Dogma. I've been meaning to, if only because Alan Rickman is in it. And I've seen enough clips to be like, there's parts of this I will probably really like. And also, as weird as it is to say, I find that weird, dark comedic takes on like modern day Christianity often works for me in terms of fiction. And maybe it's just because I really, really liked Lucifer. I haven't seen past season 4 because I hated season 4 so much. But apart from season 4, I really like the series Lucifer a lot. And obviously I really like Good Omens. And there was another one that was something along those lines, which I also really like that, but I can't remember what it is right now. So I would probably like Dogma. I should look into that. Best Sequester. I don't know whether you meant to say best sequel. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. That's a really hot take as well. That's a big hot take. Depends what you're looking for, I suppose. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is... How long is that movie? About 90 minutes? It's 90 minutes of people screaming. I think I said this before. I saw the best review for Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Letterboxd. Let me see if I can find it, because I think it's one of the top reviews. Texas Chain... How do you spell chain? Chainsaw Massacre. You can tell I'm getting tired. It's fine. Not the 2022 one. Why would that be the first option? What's wrong with you? Anyway. Yes, here it is. This is the best review I've ever seen of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it just encapsulates what the movie is. Oh, why are you putting it down there? There we go. That's the review for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's just this. 5 out of 5 stars. And that is the perfect review. That I cannot think of a review that could better sell you on what the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is than this. It's perfect. This is the perfect review. Anyway. I was on this layer, I believe. I hope I was on the right layer. Yes, I was. First time I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was drunk as a skunk and I had a fun time. I was about to say, you would either have a very good time or a very bad time, depending on what kind of drunk you are. But I gotta go now. I bid you all very fond farewell. Have a great rest of the stream. Thanks for hanging out, the boy. I'm just gonna finish up Pomni. I'm just gonna do flats. I'm not gonna do like proper shading, because it's getting late and it makes me stupider the longer I draw if I don't go to bed. So what does that even mean? If you've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you understand, because that movie is like 90 minutes of screaming. Like, it's just screaming and visceral violence and dirt and gore. Not even like direct gore though. It's just severe unpleasantness. And it's 5 out of 5 stars. I think I saw it in 2003-ish. I was too young to drink. I mean, fair enough. It's not my favorite of like the slasher movie craze. Even though it kind of predates the slasher movie craze, it kind of gets lumped in with those, even though it's not. It kind of is, but again, Halloween started the slasher movie craze, and I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of predates Halloween, if I remember correctly. But like by a year or two. It was not that long, not that much time apart. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of gets thrown in along with other slasher movies. But it's an exploitation movie with the presentation of a big budget movie. That's the way I would describe the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know whether it started as an exploitation movie. I'd have to look that up, because I think the problem is it came out around the time that exploitation movies and like mainstream Hollywood movies was starting to merge into the same thing. So a lot of movies around that time, it's a little murky if this is an exploitation movie or if it's just a movie. It predates Halloween by 4 years. Yeah, that's what I thought. And many people will be like, oh, Halloween is the first slasher. But we were talking about this earlier, and it's like, okay, well, how do you quantify that? Because Texas Chainsaw Massacre predates Halloween, and it has all the bones of a slasher movie, even though there are parts of it that are very much not a slasher movie. And then there's Black Christmas. Does Black Christmas count as a slasher movie? And it's like, well, no, because we never see the killer in Black Christmas. It's like, yes, but like apart from that, everything else in Black Christmas neatly falls into the genre. So does it count or doesn't it? Like it gets very murky. Does The Predator count as a slasher film? No, it does not, because slasher movies, over time, the formula has kind of been condensed into, it's usually young people, teenagers, but they can be like in their early 20s and such, getting killed in a large amount by a villain who may not be supernatural literally, but they have a supernatural air to them. They feel supernatural. And the young people who get killed by the entity don't have any skills or knowledge beyond being teenagers. Whereas Predator is a horror movie. It's very much a horror movie. And the people in Predator are highly accomplished soldiers. If anything, you could say Predator is kind of a satire, in a way, of the action movie, like what Schwarzenegger was doing before he did Predator. It's kind of a satire on that, but not really, because it is taking itself seriously. I call it a horror movie. The only reason why it isn't more obvious that it's just a horror movie is because it's one of the very few horror movies that takes place entirely in the daytime, which is really well, no, not entirely. There's that section where it's at night. But you know what I mean. When you think of Predator, you mostly think of the scenes that take place during the daytime. And the rights to Texas Chainsaw Massacre passed, excuse me while I look it up. Yeah, let me know. The very murky thing regarding Texas Chainsaw... I'm reading the chat backwards, I'm sorry. The very murky thing regarding Texas Chainsaw Massacre would be the company handling its release. Bryanston, unbeknownst to Tobe Hooper, was a mafia front. Its laundering was eventually caught by the feds. That's amazing. But yeah, that makes it very, very murky as to whether it's an exploitation movie or not. I should look more into like its release. Because yeah, that kind of throws a spanner into the works as to where does it fall in that whole landscape. Springtrap being added to Dead by Daylight makes me realize how much I want to see a slasher FNAF movie. See, they kind of did that with the FNAF movie, but they also didn't. Because I think they were trying to tackle too many genres with the first FNAF movie. They tried to make it a slasher. They tried to make it a A24, not A24, a Blumhouse horror. They tried to make it a fan service movie. They tried to make it a PG-13 horror movie. I think they tried to do too many things at once. I think that's the big problem with the FNAF movie. So it does have an identity, which is amazing, but its identity is FNAF movie. It kind of doesn't fit itself neatly into any box, and not because it's particularly original, but because it doesn't do one singular thing. It kind of just does a whole bunch of things at the same time. Ever watch much Mystery Science Theater? I have seen absolutely all of them except the final episode. I haven't seen Danger Diabolic, but I have seen every other Mystery Science Theater like multiple times. I was watching Mystery Science Theater before YouTube was a thing. I think the very first YouTube video I ever watched was an episode of Mystery Science Theater. I'm pretty sure. I was watching Mystery Science Theater on like Google Video back in the day. The first R-rated movie I saw in the theaters was Hostel. Predator might be the first 18 film I ever watched. Yeah, I don't know what the first 18 movie I ever watched was. The first 16 movie I ever watched was Scary Movie, for better or worse. That's how I decided to go into the 16 rating. Joel or Mike? My preference with Mystery Science Theater is a little tricky. I prefer Mike above Joel, but I prefer the Mads over Pearl. So my favorite episodes of Mystery Science Theater is like literally 6 or 7 episodes between Mike taking over from Joel before Pearl took over from the Mads. Like that very, very small window is my favorite period of Mystery Science Theater. Secret Agent Super Dragon. Coraline is still the best kid-friendly horror film ever made. I wondered whether it's something I could talk about, like make a video on horror for children, specifically animation, because I want to say horror is very hard to do in animation. It's not, but so few people or companies know how to do it correctly. And I think it's because you have to be far more abstract when you do horror in animation. And then you have the added difficulty of making horror that's digestible by children. And I just think that's a very, very interesting like subject matter, because you can talk about like Gravity Falls, you can talk about Courage the Cowardly Dog, you could talk about some of, like you can even talk about Scooby-Doo to a degree, because I absolutely think Scooby-Doo qualifies as a horror show for children. Just because we don't find it scary anymore, I still think it's a spooky show, you know what I mean? I do think that Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, like that is 100% horror for children. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island goes so hard for no reason. My favorite horror in general is Rosemary's Baby, which I think helped the MPAA in 68 decide what an R rating would even mean. I've not seen Rosemary's Baby, but purposefully I've not seen Rosemary's Baby. My mom recommended to me that I don't watch it. She doesn't often tell me not to watch things, but she said to me she felt that Rosemary's Baby would like honestly upset me. Not so much for the horror side of things, but other things within that movie would just be difficult for me to handle. And she's only said that for like 3 movies. And the other movie she said it for was Perfume. So I've not seen Perfume. And I think Sophie's Choice was the one where she's just like, no, don't watch that. You don't need to watch that one. So Sophie's Choice, Perfume, and Rosemary's Baby are the 3 that got a big no from my mother in terms of recommendation. Zombie Island, yeah, it's so good. I watched that when it first came out and I was like obsessed with it. I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Ever seen Matango? I have not, unfortunately. I grew up with Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark, and later on Buffy. I had a lot of good horror stuff growing up. Yeah, I didn't watch Are You Afraid of the Dark, but I did read the Goosebumps books. I was quite into them as well. I was like finding my horror footing around that time and like figuring out where my, not boundaries, but like where the line was for me in terms of what I found too scary at the time and what I was okay with interacting with. And obviously that's changed as I've gotten older. But yeah, I came into horror relatively early, I think. I think that Jaws was also a gateway horror film for me, because Jaws is technically PG. Like, you can just watch Jaws if you're a child, it's fine. And Jaws is absolutely a horror movie, there's like no way around that. And I remember really liking Jaws. So that might have been part of a gateway drug, I suppose. What else did I watch? Oh, I watched 13 Ghosts a lot. Not the original 60s one. I'm talking about like the 2000s one. Because that one is very much a horror movie, but it's so over the top and cartoonish while still wearing the aesthetic of a horror movie. It's easy to watch when you're a kid, because there's nothing really that scary in it. It's just kind of gory, and that's about it. There's also the classic monster flicks of the 30s, i.e. from Universal. Yeah, those are really good, like legitimately. I've watched quite a few of them as an adult, and yeah, they're just good movies. Straight up, they're just good movies. Jurassic Park. I remember being in preschool and the other kids like telling me that Jurassic Park was the scariest movie ever made, and like describing scenes in the movie in such a hyperbolic way that I never saw Jurassic Park as a kid, because I had like all this secondhand information about how terrifying it was. Have I seen Videodrome? I've not, but I've seen Cronenberg's other movie that he made about the video game system. What was that one called? It's got a very strange name. And I really liked that one. I thought that one was great. I don't know if that's how you spell Cronenberg, but it's fine. It was indeed not how you spell Cronenberg. Not Scanners. Existence. Existence is really, really interesting. Yeah, Existence. Yeah. That, I kind of really enjoyed that movie. It's very, very weird, but I had a good time watching it. I don't know whether it's my favorite Cronenberg, but the fact that it's the first one I think of says a lot. I watched The Fly. The Fly is very sad though. Like, The Fly is... It's not unpleasant, because The Fly, at the end of the day, is you're watching somebody slowly succumb to a terminal illness. Like, that's what The Fly is. So aside from all the body horror stuff, it's just very sad. It's a very sad movie. My friend was scarred by Jaws and still refuses to go to the ocean. Jaws is great. I was watching a movie reaction channel watch it for the first time the other day. It wasn't a great reaction, but it did just remind me of Jaws again. And I'm like, God, I haven't seen this in such a long time. It's such a good movie. I also saw somebody had like a video essay on just the absolute hatred that the cast had for each other. Like Richard Dreyfuss and the guy who played Quint. They hated each other. They absolutely despised each other. So I want to watch that video essay because I'm like, I need some tea. I need the gossip on what was going on here. There we go. I'm almost done with Pomni here because, like I said, I'm just going to do like the flats for her. Because otherwise I get too tired and then I start yelling and it starts getting like 2 a.m. and stuff. Also because I like winding down after the stream. I find I can't just like end the stream and go to bed. I can't do that. So I also don't want to go to bed at like 4 in the morning. Ah, there goes my connection again. I don't want to watch Gunmo. Apparently there are unpleasantries involving a cat. Oh yeah. Yeah, that sometimes happens in horror. One has to like be careful with the genre in certain ways. That's why I often like, I don't spoil a movie for myself, but I try and get some kind of vibe as to what the movie is about before I watch it. I don't know whether you guys can still hear me or not because it's still telling me that my connection is a little crappy here. So I'll just give it a minute and grab some more Pepsi while I wait. Yeah, I don't know whether I'm still connected. I mean, I can do the trick again with my phone and see if it fixes it. Let's do this again. Do this, do this. Do this. I'm so close to finishing this picture. Come on, you can do it. Come on. Okay, there we go. Back to excellent connection. Apparently that's how you do it. Like, I just have to like hit the button on my phone a few times and it sorts itself out. It's very strange. I wonder why it does that. I'm not going to look into it to find out why, but it does it for some reason. Anyway, I'm so close to finishing Pomni, so I don't know whether chat is still with me or not, because I have quite low viewers tonight. I'm not sure why. I don't know whether a video game is released again, because I seem to have that knack. Every single time I go live, some massive video games come out. Oh, you know what did come out is Metal Gear, the new remake for Metal Gear Solid 3. Maybe that's it. But that didn't come out today, so I don't know whether that would be it. My chat is still down. Hold on. Where is chat? Right, do this. Nope. Chat is just quiet, I guess. I mean, that's fine, as long as it's not my connection that's dead. I could just finish up Pomni and go to bed. Finish the Red Sox documentary, which is very interesting to me. Although I will say, the Netflix documentary on the Red Sox 2004 win, it kind of presumes that you already know everything about baseball. Like, it kind of presumes if you're watching this, you already have knowledge about the 2004 win, and you already have knowledge about the history of the Red Sox. So it doesn't really go into that very much, which is a shame, because I would have loved if it spent some time just kind of setting the scene by detailing the history of the Red Sox since they traded Babe Ruth, and kind of spending a little bit of time on that. Oh, I forgot to ink her one cheek. But instead, it just kind of skips all of that, and I was watching it, and I'm like, you know what? I really need Implement to make a video on the Red Sox, because Implement is probably my favorite YouTuber in terms of writing. I have not found a YouTuber as good at writing his scripts in the way he presents the plot of his videos as I have with Implement. Like, I genuinely think he's the best at it. I see little hearts and 100% there, so it's like, hello from the other side. But yeah, I see the emojis. We can communicate across time and space to each other. But anyway, yeah, Implement, I adore the way he writes his scripts. Like, it's just so well done. He can make a video on any topic and I will sit and watch it. He made, like, his video on the Florida Dolphins and their perfect season of 1972. I think I've watched that like 5 times or something. I don't give a crap about American football to any degree, but that video is so interesting. And he made a video recently about Chris Moneymaker and the best poker game of all time. And again, I don't give a crap about poker, but I've seen that one multiple times as well. He made a video about the Blair Witch movie, which is super fascinating. He made a movie about the Star Wars prequels, which is really interesting. He made a video about the 2 tornadoes that hit Moore, I think, Oklahoma. And that video is really interesting. So I need Implement to make an entire video on the Red Sox's win. He mentions it briefly in his video where he talks about the most famous chokes in sport history, which is really, really good. He mentions it because he's talking about it specifically in terms of the Yankees in that game. But his point in that section was how one person's choke is another person's victory. So he briefly talks about the Red Sox victory in that part of the video. But I want him to talk about the whole thing. I want him to really go into that win, because I think it's a fascinating story. And the Netflix documentary, I see it was funded by the American Baseball League. And I think that might be why it just kind of assumes if you're watching this, you know who the Red Sox are, you know what their history is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I kind of want you to explain that to me. I kind of want you to break it down into smaller pieces, because I'm genuinely interested, but I don't follow sports. The most I know about baseball, I learned from the anime Big Wind-Up and Moneyball. You're going to have to explain it to me a little bit more than that. But yeah, so Implement should make a video. He made a video recently, which I haven't watched yet. What's it called again? Implement. I know there was a reason why I didn't sit down and watch it right away. Yeah, it's not the poker tournament. He made a video on just called The Monolith. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know whether it's about 2001: A Space Odyssey or not, but that one I haven't watched. And he has a video called There Will Never Ever Be Another Movie Like Office Space. And I saw Office Space when I was like a teenager, so I genuinely can't remember it. So that's also the other reason why I haven't seen his 2 latest videos. I should, because again, I would watch anything made by him, just the scripts are written so well. And I don't think it's a level of writing I would ever be able to reach, just because I don't consider myself that good of a writer. But it is something to shoot for, you know, it is something to aim for. Maybe I'll never get there, but I don't know, I'll figure it out. I take a lot longer, I take a lot longer to kind of hit my stride than other people, I find. And I mean, that's fine, I've always been that way. I slowly ease into things, I slowly accustom myself to things, rather than just being good or getting good very quickly. I like to take my time and slowly feel my way around. I'm going to check the chat on my phone. And if it's borked on my phone as well, I'll just say goodnight, because it's borked on my PC. So at the moment, I'm just yapping to myself. Luckily, I'm good at that. Here we go. This art stream. And no, it looks like it's just down for some reason. That's weird. Anyway, that's it for the stream. So I'm going to say goodnight. At least I can see your emojis. Thanks, guys. I don't know why chat isn't working. That's very strange to me. Maybe when I lost connection, something weird happened. There is a streamer I watch who covers lolcows, and he streams from Australia, so his connection isn't the best either. And that sometimes happens to him when his stream dies, is the chat just kind of explodes and refuses to live. So maybe that happened. But thanks anyway, guys, and thanks for the emojis. I see them. Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna say goodnight. I still want to do like streams instead of just the monthly art stream, but at the moment, working on production, I literally just don't have the time. And I'm working a lot, and when I'm not working, I'm just so exhausted, because production, it takes a lot of mental energy, and it takes like a lot of stamina, because if there's like a problem, even after hours, you have to jump on it. You can't just leave it for the work day tomorrow. So I'm so tired. I can't sit on stream and like yap for 3 or 4 hours after work. It's just not possible at the moment. But I do want to start doing that when production is over. It's not going to go on for much longer. I think it's about 2, maybe 3 months, but I'll see. Because, you know, plan is one thing, but eventual reality is another. But I will see you guys next month. And oh yes, I've got end screens and stuff. And yes, so I've got the little PNG tuber. I hope you guys liked her. I'll try and see if I have time to make one that's like more in line with my avatar that I use in videos. But if I don't have time to like do a proper one, I'll use this one again, because it looks like you guys liked her. People seem very happy with her, and she works fine. Like, she's been working great this entire stream. And it's just nice to kind of have something on stream when I'm talking, rather than just being the voice from the void. Right? Speaking of which, I need to watch that new VOD by Joel. Anyway, good night, guys. Let me stop the music here. And I shall see you guys next month. Sorry the chat broke, but I'll catch you guys around. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Whatever. Leave a comment if there was something you wanted to ask. I'll like reply to comments and stuff like that if there was something you really wanted to know. And I'll say hi there. So just do transition. There we go. And I'll see you guys next month. Bye.